central on the Committee on Finance, Planning, and Economic Development. Mr. Speaker, I beg to designate the Honorable Kayono Fred on Committee on Fiscal Infrastructure, and on the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry. The two colleagues that were omitted were the Honorable Mwechuje Francis of Buweju County, the Honorable Ogwalo Cecilia of Dokoro District. I beg to redesignate Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, I put a question that the members be redesignated to the proposed committees. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Next.
Statement on the World Population Day.
Honorable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this statement is a brief to Parliament on 2023 World Population Day and Uganda's population dynamics and their significance to the country. Mr. Speaker, the World Population Day is commemorated on July 11th in member states in observance of the significance of the population development concerns. The day has been commemorated since 1987, when the population of the world reached 5 billion mark. This year's World Population Day comes after the population of the world is projected to have reached 8 billion in November 15th, 2022. Uganda has been observing this day since 1989 and has been using this occasion to raise awareness on population and development issues. What are the objectives? Mr. Speaker, sir, the objectives of this statement are to inform Parliament that 1, Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate the World Population Day on Tuesday, July 11, 2023, and number 2, that His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, will be the guest of honor, and 3, that this year's World Population Day commemorations will be hosted by Aleptongo District at Aleptongo Boma Grounds under the theme, Prioritize Free Education, Prevent School Dropouts, and Improve Household Incomes.
Procedure. I just wanted him to complete his sentence. That was.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, just yesterday, we were here talking about the issue of the interns and the lack of resources to actually fund the internship program, specifically for our doctors. And Right Honorable Speaker, these commemorations come with resources. So Right Honorable Speaker, is it not time? I know they may not stop the function of Tuesday because preparations have not been made, but there are many more other commemorations that are coming. So Right Honorable Speaker, would it not be procedurally right for the government to prioritize and put money where it matters most, other than commemorating these days, and you'll find $1 billion shillings is spent on these commemorations?
Thank you.
Couldn't we just have a statement by the President and people listen to the statement and we call it a day for some of these days? So,
thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, are we proceeding well in these constrained times?
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, we all carry the blame on this. Government presented the budget. Government presented the budget, and we approved all these activities in the budget. I don't think the minister is seeking for a supplementary to commemorate these dates from the budget we approved. So since we approved the budget, that it didn't have money for interns, but had money for such a days, let's all take the blame if we had to take it. So we are proceeding very well. Honorable Minister, in fact, you can come with a motion that we stop all this, but we appropriated this money, let us allow government to use it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, what is the problem? The problem is that many children drop out of school before completing their primary education, with only about 40% of the pupils who enroll for primary 1 completing primary 7. Additionally, only 1 in 4 children who start primary school makes it to secondary school. 40% of the girls are married off before their 18th birthday, and the teenage pregnancy rate is still very high at 25%. As we all know, child marriage and teenage pregnancy lead to negative health consequences, and many of these girls drop out of school, which affects their future socio-economic prospects. Right Honorable Speaker, the high cost of education is also a challenge. A comprehensive evaluation of UPE in 2018 found that spending on education is the poorest, by the poorest 20% of the households grew by 11%. Some of the cost drivers include meals, uniforms, and educational materials. In addition, child labor is still a challenge in Uganda. According to the National Labor Force Survey of 2021 by UBOS, 40% of children aged between 5 and 17 were in the child labor, excluding household chores with more males than females. On average, children spent 43 hours per week on work, girls 47 hours, and boys 38 hours. Engagement in child labor leaves children with limited time and energy for schooling. The policy measures in response to the prevailing population dynamics in the context of the theme are the following. Mr. Speaker, the government has implemented policies and programs to improve access to education and enhance the quality of our children. In 1997, government introduced the Universal Primary Education Program to make basic education accessible to every child, and in 2007, government introduced Universal Secondary Education to increase access to secondary education for economically vulnerable children. The UPE program has significantly improved school enrollment from 2.5 million learners in 1996 to 10.8 million in 2020. Due to the introduction of USE at the secondary level, enrollment increased to 2 million learners in 2019 from 1.2 million in 2010. Mr. Speaker, in 2014, the government introduced the Students' Loan Scheme for higher education to ensure equal access to university education opportunities. 18 public and private universities are eligible for the loan scheme. The Students' Loan Scheme is in addition to the government bursaries for highly qualifying students at higher education institutions.
Just colleagues.
In addition,
Honourable Minister, just colleagues, let's listen to a statement.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister here is giving information when yesterday the higher students scheme, loan scheme, informed the people of Uganda that there is no money and Ugandans should not think about applying to them. Right Honourable Speaker, we are here. Honourable Musasa is a minister of this government. Whatever he is saying there, people will listen to it, get hope, yet he is giving them false hopes. Is in order.
Now, number one, Honourable Musasa is presenting a statement of government. And that's their position. But I told you, Honourable colleagues, I said this statement is related to issues which we are debating in the State of the Nation motion which we have. So when we go to State of the Nation, Adrian, you pick out where he has lied, where you believe he has given wrong information. and put it to the public. And we debate and we argue it out. But now, I don't know, you're referring to something which I don't know whether indeed, no public information, where was it? I didn't read the news papers, it might have been in newspapers. So me, if it was tabled here on the floor, I would be knowing, yes, they released this statement. But statements which are made elsewhere, sometimes I see, sometimes I don't see. So I would say, colleagues, let's allow the minister give his statement. When we go to debate, then whenever he has, who you believe he has misread or it's not accurate, then you will be able to bring out that information. I'll give you a chance, okay? Yeah. So just let him read the statement and finish it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in addition, government is still implementing the 1991 gender-based affirmative action policy to enable more girls to acquire a university education. In 2020, the Ministry of Education and Sports introduced a new competence-based lower secondary school curriculum. The new curriculum aims to enhance students' education achievement levels and literacy, numeracy, and life skills. Right Honorable Speaker, over time, we have increased the education budget as a percentage of total funding from 1.37% in financial year 2017-18 to 11.08% in financial year 2018-19, 10.4% in financial year 2019-20, and 11.49% in the financial year 2020-2021. This investment has led to a significant increase in particularly the physical infrastructure and access. For example, 92% of all parishes have a public primary school, and 72% of all sub-counties have a government secondary school. In addition, each region now has a government university, while the majority, approximately 60%, of the districts have technical institutions, and more Ugandans have access to education at different levels. Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda's literacy rate has increased from 70.2% in 2012 to 79% in 2021 due to the above interventions. Right Honorable Speaker, in response to the challenges earlier mentioned, we plan now on the interventions to improve education outcomes and school retention. In response to challenges earlier mentioned, we plan to 1, further strengthen the education systems to improve the quality and equity of measurable learning outcomes right from lower primary level. In 2018, Ministry of Education and Sports launched the Strengthening Education System for Improved Learning program to improve the quality and equity of sustainable learning outcomes at lower primary level. This intervention seeks to strengthen routine data collection around 5 drivers of improved learning, which include increased time spent by teachers in schools, improved pupil attendance, increased time spent by pupils in learning, improved safety of children and around schools, and improved leadership of schools as places of learning. This should be strengthened. 2, emphasize compulsory education through the parish development model as per the presidential directive. This will promote pupil and student retention and leverage on the implementation of the parish development model that aims at improving households' income. This will empower parents to fulfill their children's basic needs and address the economic reasons for marrying off young girls. Point 4, fast-track the formulation of the school fees regulation policy to set minimum and maximum fees, limits, and requirements. Point 5, fast-track the implementation of the guidelines for reintegrating teenage mothers into school and providing non-formal learning opportunities to those who drop out of school. Point 6, integrate information communication technologies and innovation in the teaching learning environment which will not only improve on instruction, but also enhance the learner's curiosity and enthusiasm to learn and discover new ideas and information, and build a strong knowledge base. The results of the previous commemorations and lessons learned. Right Honorable Speaker, the commemoration of the World Population Day has successfully changed the population and development narrative from viewing of our nation's young population as a burden on socioeconomic development to viewing it as an opportunity to be harnessed in order to reap from the demographic dividend that this population presents. As earlier mentioned, since the previous commemoration, there has been a campaign for ending child marriage and teenage pregnancy as per the 2022 World Population Day theme. The National Population Council has spearheaded the creation of teenage pregnancy prevention committees at parish level, which are being rolled out at districts. What are the activities for the 2023 World Population Day event? Mr. Speaker, the key strategic activities for this year's commemoration include the presidential address to the nation, tabling of a cabinet information paper on the commemoration of the World Population Day 2023, this statement on the floor of Parliament, the televised interministerial dialogue, and an intergenerational policy dialogue. Other activities will be an interregional forum for district leaders, the national campaign against child marriages, teenage pregnancy, and school dropouts, community outreach services with members of Parliament in the Rango sub-region, youth dialogue, and a media tour of the Aleptongo district. The expected outcomes from commemoration of the 2023 World Population Day are, Right Honorable Speaker, we expect results from the 2023 World Population Day commemoration to include: 1. Engagement with the top leadership of the country on population and development matters in order to elevate the profile of population issues on the agenda of policymakers at all levels to influence policy and program actions. Provision of a platform for sharing population experiences by different local governments and an opportunity to articulate their population and development concerns. Sharing of prevailing population trends and patterns in the country with all stakeholders. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, I would like to state that 1. Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate the World Population Day on Tuesday, July 11, 2023. Number 2, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, will be the guest of honor. Number 3, this year's World Population Day commemorations will be hosted by Aleptong District at Aleptong Boma grounds under the theme Prioritize Free Education, Prevent School Dropouts, and Improve Household Incomes. And lastly, I would like to invite you, honorable colleagues, to invite us on 11th July at this event. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable colleagues, as I guided, because this statement under our rules, it may be debated. We have a general debate on the state of the nation. This feeds in very well. So I will request that we debate it under that. And I hope, Minister, you took concern of the honorable colleague. Next time, maybe when such a statements come, they should come with a budget. We know how much you're going to spend on it. But also the responsible committees, maybe when we are handling budgets, we should see, is this necessary? At the moment we appropriate for it in the committees and on the floor, then we shall be. But honorable colleagues, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have students and teachers from St. Jonah High School, Namugongo. They are represented by Honorable Semuji Ibrahim Nganda and Honorable Narima Betty. They have come to observe proceedings of this house. Please join me in welcoming them. Also, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have a delegation of Makerere University guild leaders. They've come of this house. Please join me in welcoming them. Thank you. That's where Honorable Kayemba Soro, I hear, used to teach. We don't know what he was teaching. He was teaching population growth, according to Honorable Saro Pendi. Honorable colleagues, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have a delegation from the Association of Uganda Employers Limited, Kampala District. They are represented by Honorable Marende Shamima and Honorable Kawadia Abubakar. They've come to observe proceedings of this house, and we shall be handling their petition next. So please join me in welcoming them. Next item.
Item number 3 on the order paper.
Procedure, Honorable Nandara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a procedural issue, and I will seek your indulgence to refer to you yourself, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, recently I heard you, if I'm not mistaken, telling the President that you want to come up with a plan how university students will be funded, because this university is funding the rich and not the poor. And you brought it very seriously. And indeed, why you brought it seriously, you knew that education is a key to development in this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your indulgence. If education is the key development, a key factor for development of a country, people can die in hospitals, you can produce more. But if you kill the education sector, you have killed the state, you have killed the nation. And Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance has raised a very big fundamental issue as far as education is concerned. And we don't want to lose that point, especially of funding private students from poor families who cannot afford university. Mr. Speaker, wouldn't it be procedure right that you give about 10-15 minutes? We deal with that, because every day children are coming and said, we made applications, we have not got money. Who got, who never got. And we want to know who is supposed to get and who is not supposed to get. And this will help this country as we're talking. Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your indulgence.
I think, Honorable colleagues, what I'll do when we open the debate on the State of the Nation address, okay? The first 20 minutes we can dedicate them to the education sector. Okay? The first 20 minutes. Yeah, because it fits in, it's all about the state of the country we are in. Yes, Honorable Procedure?
Mr. Speaker, a while ago, I was informing this House about the matter of the Higher Education Student Financing Board, of a press release which was of 6 July. And Mr. Speaker, allow me lay on table this press release, because you indicated that probably you were not aware, and probably many were not aware. Allow me lay on table this press release for the Parliament to take note of.
Thank you. Kindly lay and clerk upload it for members to access it, so that when we are debating, by the time we are debating, it would already be uploaded. It's a good document for information purposes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this press release was released on 6th July, and it has a highlight for immediate release: communication on students' loans for the year 2023-2024. And allow me just read the first statement, Mr. Speaker, before I lay. The Higher Education Students Financing Board informs the public that due to budgetary shortfalls, the board will not receive, and in capital letters, applications for student loans to the academic year 2023-2024. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay this press release. Thank you.
So, Honourable Minister, did you release such a statement? Confirm?
Thank you very much, right. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to own the statement which Honourable colleague has read before the floor of Parliament, and I'm happy my brother from Finance is here. We want to acknowledge that we have a lot of arrears which we owe various tertiary institutions of higher learning.
Now, Honourable Minister, just allow me, I wanted you to confirm. Then when we do our 20 minutes debate, okay? When we do our 20 minutes debate, you will, because I don't want us to be diverted. Since you've confirmed, it's okay, the authenticity of the document. So I wanted us to go to the next item.
Item number 3 on the order paper.
Procedure, Honourable Esther, then Honourable Nandara.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the docket where I serve local governments has issues, especially with local councils. And yesterday, you had ruled that my colleague, the Honourable Minister, will be here to give us a response over the matter why we are not having local council 1s and local council 2s together with women councils. Mr. Speaker, before we finish entirely your communication, won't it be right, with your indulgence, we also get a response over these key areas in our country as far as elections are concerned?
These are matters of which were raised under matters of national importance, and I said we shall handle them during Prime Minister's time. So I'll give the Minister a chance to answer. Procedure?
Mr. Speaker, the statement by the junior minister from Finance, it has now been established that it is inaccurate. That's what the statement, the press release that the Honorable Nsamba has tabled means. Another junior minister from Education, who says he represents the First Lady here on Thursday.
Right Honourable Speaker, point of order.
Honourable Peter, you're not supposed to access a microphone
Point
without
of
my
order.
permission.
Order.
Kindly switch off the microphone.
Mr. Speaker.
Wait a bit, Honourable. You see, when you're in wrong, you first sit. And then you come up. You don't remain standing and it might be an indirect coup on me. Okay? Yes, Honourable.
Mr. Speaker, another junior minister has confirmed that this statement that the Honourable Nsamba...
Point of order from Honourable Enos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You already made a ruling related to debating issues that came out of the statements. You said you will give us time when we are debating. And now, is my colleague in order? Wait, members, are you the speakers now?
Now the problem, you're listening to other voices.
Okay, my apologies. Is our honourable colleague in order to bring a matter that you have already made a ruling on?
Now the problem is, he has not yet concluded his matter for me to know the clear point he's raising. So it becomes difficult for me. But I'm seeing the biggest problem is you honourable colleagues laughing when they say someone is a junior minister. A junior minister is an acceptable language. Yes, it's an acceptable language. Only that the intention behind someone saying the drive. Okay, so because when he's happy, he calls him a minister. When he's not happy, he reminds him he's a junior minister. Honourable Peter Gwanga, you wanted to say something about it?
Right Honourable Speaker, with due respect to my colleague Honourable Semujunganda, when I'm here now on the absence of the Honourable Minister Janet Kataa Museveni, I'm here holding the portfolio as the Minister of Education and Sports. So is Honourable Semujunganda Is Honorable Semuji Nganda in order to begin insinuating that I'm a junior minister when I'm holding a portfolio? Is he in order, Right Honorable Speaker?
Now, order, Honorable colleagues. You see, Honorable Semuju, you know, we are always praying hard to be promoted. Now, the day you receive a promotion, whether temporary or permanent, should be celebrated. Now, Honorable colleague is a full minister here today acting as. So, but for ease of reference, let's use a standard language. Ministers are approved by Parliament, and we approve ministers of state. So let us have a language that is standard for all of us, because we don't, when we are approving, we never approve junior ministers, senior ministers, we approve ministers of state. So that language would be more acceptable. But you need to congratulate Honorable Peter on temporary promotion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, you have ruled, and it has gone to our side. Honorable Ogwanga has claimed he is in here as a minister in charge of what? Education. Mr. Speaker, people who masquerade is very dangerous. We need evidence to be tabled that he is here in the capacity of the Minister of Education. Otherwise, we are going to have 100 people coming here to claim anything.
No. That's very easy. Honorable Peter is holding the fort for the Minister of Education. We agreed here in the House that leader of government business submits a rota for ministers to attend. And on Thursdays, education is designated for Honorable Peter Gwang. So on Thursday, Honorable Peter Gwang is holding fort as the Minister of Education. So he has not masqueraded in any way. It was tabled on the floor, and we have it on record. So Honorable Semuji. We have Honorable Semuji on procedure. No,
Mr.
please, Honorable
Speaker.
colleagues, take your seat.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Gwang, and you can bring the answer. He told Parliament that I will be the one representing my senior minister. That's what he said. I will be the one. That statement actually confirms that he's not the senior minister, he's a junior minister. That was his statement. He said, I will be the one representing the senior minister every Thursday. But for me, that was not the matter. The matter, Mr. Speaker, matters of authenticity about this statement by the Honorable Musasizi have been raised. Brought a statement here that is inaccurate. In the past, Mr. Speaker, we have debated and thrown out statements that are wanting. So the procedural issue I am raising, Mr. Speaker, is whether we should devote 20 minutes debating a statement whose authenticity has already been doubted, and the press statement has been laid on table, and the new senior minister for education has confirmed that actually there is no money, as the Honorable Musasizi has told this Parliament.
Thank you. Number one, I cannot judge whether the statement is authentic or not. Authenticity is on who has signed it. The contents of the statement can be debatable. That's number one. But number two, I did not say we are going to discuss a statement. I said we are going to discuss the sector. Okay? I was very clear with my words, because state of the nation has several sectors. So I said, as the statement feeds within the state of the nation address, and we can dedicate 20 minutes to the sector, because we had many issues brought within the sector. So I think we are okay. We are okay. But at that time, indeed, Minister will have to give a response on the issues of authenticity of some of the statements he has made. Let's move. Next item. Colleagues, we are bad off behind time. Yeah.
Number 3 on the order paper, presentation of a petition of the Association of Uganda Employers Limited, comprising 40 companies and over 480 individual members, about the multiple charges by different government agencies.
Honorable Kaya Christine, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I stand to present this petition following our rule number 30 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. Dear Parliament of Uganda, the humble petition of the Association of Uganda Employers Limited, comprising 40 companies and over 480 individual members, presented on their behalf by myself and them in the gallery, soweth and states that, number one, the petitioners are private operators who provide sanitation services specializing in fecal sludge collection, transportation, and its safe disposal and management, as well as toilet building and emptying and blocking of sewers and septic tanks. Number two, the petitioners are aggrieved by the sector operational charges, including multiple charges by different government agencies, poor waste disposal, and limited sewerage treatment plants. Number three, in Uganda, the rapid population growth in the urban areas has greatly outpaced the ability of the urban authorities to provide adequate management of waste, especially fecal sludge. Number four, about 90% of the population in the metropolitan area relies on on-site sanitation facilities, that is pit latrines and septic tanks, whereas 50% of households share one sanitation facility, and fecal sludge constitutes over 96% of human waste in the metropolitan, only covers a few sections of the country. Number five, more than 50% of pit latrines are unlined and filled with solid waste, and only 20 to 25% of the toilets have ever been emptied by a service provider. The rest have either been abandoned or been emptied directly into the environment, posing health and environmental risks for the city and its people. Number six, the petitioners continue to supplement government efforts in the delivery of quality services in the sanitation subsector by ensuring sustainable management of sanitation for all in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 6. Number seven, however, petitioners are hampered by multiple reporting to various government regulatory agencies and the requirement to pay multiple charges which are charged at every stage of their operations. For example, disposal fee paid to National Water and Sewerage Corporation, operational license fee paid to National Environment Management Authority, environmental and sanitation service fee paid to Kampala Capital City Authority, trading license and income tax which is levied on commercial goods vehicles. Number eight, the levying of multiple charges by different agencies complicates the reporting procedures by private companies engaged in the fecal sludge handling and also makes the cost of doing business very expensive. Number nine, currently there are only 2 sewage treatment plants for fecal sludge disposal which are managed by National Water and Sewerage Corporation and only operate during working hours, which affect service delivery given the volume of fecal sludge. Now, therefore, your humble petitioners pray that Parliament urges government, A, to consolidate the licenses and charges paid by private companies dealing in fecal sludge collection, transportation, and disposal under one agency to ease their operations. B, to remove disposal fees charged by sewage treatment plants for fecal sludge. since the sewage treatment plants recycle the fecal sludge into manure for sale. C, to engage private parties through public-private partnership for effective management of fecal sludge treatment plants to improve service delivery. D, to remove tax which is levied on fecal sludge and cesspool vehicles, since they facilitate service delivery aimed at ensuring a clean environment. And your humble petitioners, as in duty bound, will ever pray. And here too, your humble petitioners have appended their signatures. And the signatures are also part of the petition. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable colleague. I've assessed the petition. I found it was falling under 3 committees, but since the most important issue is consolidation of the licenses and licensing, I hereby refer it to the Committee of Trade, Tourism and Industry, in line with Rule 30, Sub-Rule 5 of our Rules of Procedure. Next item, let them process and report back in 45 days.
Item number 4 on the order paper, continuation of the debate on the motion for a resolution of Parliament to appreciate His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda for the clear and precise exposition of government policy contained in the State of the Nation Address to the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, Wednesday, 7th June 2023.
Thank you. I'll start with Honorable Isa Agaba. Followed by Honorable Martin Muzari. Colleagues, we do 3 minutes each. Okay, 3 minutes each. Oh, Honorable Agaba Isa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm here to stand with my fellow colleagues to appreciate the address, the speech the President gave us on 7th June of this year. I want to recommend him very much as a hard-working, non-sleeping President who is standing firm with us Ugandans. We do love him so much for his steering our economy of Uganda. We all know as Ugandans that we have been passing through a lot the past 3 years through COVID, but our dear President has been able to steer firm the Ugandan economy where we have sustainability and growth. Since then, he has enabled to improve on investments. He has called the investors to come into our country to bring in growth, whereby we have people coming from Europe, others coming from USA, others coming from Middle East to improve on our market. Since we are now looking at PDM, PDM is focused on a local person. He has tried to improve the market of Uganda where people will get the market of their goods. Thus, us Ugandans benefiting more and more. Then we want to appreciate our dear President for improving and increasing industries in our country. The other time we have been exporting, we all know that we have been exporting raw materials, but this time our President is calling for value addition on our products that we are growing, and now he's promoting more industries in our local government. And thus, it is helping our people to get jobs and wealth creation on the lower level. I really appreciate him, and me in my constituency in Bugangais East, people have benefited through Emyoga Fund Circle. People have benefited through PDM. Now our town councils have started getting PDM. We have 109 million per parish. We have 100, that is in Sita Town Council. We have 109.7 million in Koko Town Councils, and in many. That's showing that our President
he's really still firm and he's looking forward to the growth of our country. I really appreciate him. May he long live our dear President, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We love you and we are here to stand firm with you so that we...
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, I had forgotten earlier on, I had said the first 20 minutes would be for the education sector. So I kindly request that we stick onto the education and related matters to do with the statement from Honorable Musasizi. But before then, Honorable Musasizi, I don't know if do you have any clarification you want to make on the statement from higher education loan financing scheme?
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, in my statement under 4.2, I stated that government introduced the students' loan scheme for higher education to ensure equal access to university education opportunities. 18 public universities and private universities are eligible for the loan scheme. The students' loan scheme is in addition to the government bursaries for highly qualifying students at higher education institutions. In addition, government is still implementing the 1991 gender-based affirmative action policy to enable more girls to acquire university education. Mr. Speaker, here we are communicating policy, and the policy on loan scheme has not been withdrawn. The policy is still there. If there are budget challenges, they can be looked into, but not necessarily saying that what I presented here was not correct. I am firm on what I was presenting, and Honorable Semuju and I know each other very well, so he knows that I cannot present inaccurate things in the House.
Thank you. So the minister says what he was presenting is the intention that is anchored on policy. Now, funding of that intention might not yet be realized or appropriate, but the intention still stands. So we cannot hold him to be presenting something wrong when he has stated government policy. And indeed, it has not changed. The policy has not yet changed. So, but that shouldn't divert us. We can also look into, indeed, insufficient funding of the scheme. It's very important. So, debate, Honorable Nandara, Honorable Chon, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have been asking on average how many children can come from a parish to the university. I don't want to look at Kampala or to town. On average, you can get not more than 5 children come from a parish to universities. And those are even more, that's the maximum. And Mr. Speaker, we are talking of parish development model. Development, even education, is one of the main development items which builds a nation. Now, if we cannot budget for education for children going to high institutions of learning, and we're budgeting for parishes in the village for growing beans, maize, coffee, and whatever, then we're being in danger. And Mr. Speaker, why I'm raising this, the criteria of choosing children who benefit from this scheme is a nightmare. Many of them apply, and they come up and say, you have not qualified. Yet they are one, all of them are Ugandans. 2, they are from disadvantaged families. Some are even disabled. Some have no parents. But those who qualify may be those who have even with parents doing well, while those with poor families complete are the ones who never succeed. And that's why we're saying, if the criteria of people of Uganda is so selective in that matter, it is quite dangerous. We as Parliament should say anybody who is going to the university should be able to access a loan to go and study. And because you access a loan which you will pay, it's incumbent on government to create jobs so that these boys and girls, after finishing, will pay the loans. If we still continue with this selective method, it is very few children who are going to study. In fact, there should be no criteria of choosing people that this one qualifies and this one doesn't qualify. The qualification is basically your parents or your clansmen cannot afford. Be given money on loan and go and study, and you will pay when you get a what? A job. Okay. Finally, okay, you give me about.
Honorable colleagues, I don't have that much time, so that's why you're ending.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The information I want to give to the member is the government is doing a lot of things in terms of scholarship or sponsoring children to the university. But there is this one called district quota system. District quota system, so far, have already been equated to be fairly good. If the policy of this loan scheme scholarship is not benefiting people uniformly the way we are trying to debate it, why don't we equate it to district quota system? Just that we know it is a loan, yes, but every district, we have this quota for you. Every district, this quota for you. So that we stop this kind of madness where people are not being selected they're being selected selectively, which is not the right thing. This is the kind of information I want to give you.
Thank you.
To equate it to district quota system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Honorable colleagues, Honorable Nandara, in raising that issue, he referred to my statement, which I said before the President, on celebrating 100 years of Makerere University. I followed it up. The President responded. He said that indeed he has heard, because my argument was like the one of Amos, who caught here. I was like, why don't you do district quota? This business of finding one district has how many students, another, maybe you also promote local schools, because now everyone who has a child who is somehow, they bring them either to Kampala, to Wakiso, to Mukono, you know, to be able to qualify. So the President said at that time that he had appointed the task force chaired by the Honorable Amanya Mushega, which is making all this review. Maybe the Minister for Education can give us an update where that task force has reached, so that we get these details and we see what solution the government is proposing.
I thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, for the concerns you're raising in as far as the affairs of the education sector is concerned. It's true that there's a task force which is still doing its work, undertaking major reviews on our education system. I want to request that you give us time. Once that task force completes its work, we will be able to come and present some of the findings of the task force to this August House. The question of the timing, the first assignment, according to the information I have, was meant to end this December of this year. Because the work is quite a lot, let's be cognizant of that fact. It's true, we have received quite very many petitions as a sector, specifically to refer to what Honorable Nathan said on the selection criteria on how students benefit from the Student Asylum Scheme. It's true, some of them, we have handled those petitions. But it is also true that we're also faced with the challenge that how do you appreciate those who perform well? Because there are those children who extremely do well, they excel, and government is obliged to support them. That's why, in our own wisdom, we feel that task force is able to help us. We have given them the mandate to carry out a thorough analysis of what we feel we need to do as a country in our reforming our educational system. I thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker.
I had picked Honourable Rabshija. Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Little wonder this debate arouses such concern. Mr. Speaker, the committee I chair, the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, COSASE, inquired into this entity, Higher Education Students Financing Board. And we have a report that's ready that, among others, tackles the regional imbalance in the way this scheme is handled. Extremely problematic. And all those issues are detailed in our report. And we shall table all the evidence, including how they allocated, and members will be baffled when they see how these allocations did happen. So it's one of the reports that is on the order paper. Perhaps you could guide. That's my procedural issue. You could guide how we deal with this.
Colleagues, the rules stop us from anticipation, especially when we've already assigned one of our own committees and the report is ready. So anything to do with their own financing scheme, let me give assurance on Tuesday. We shall put it on order paper. Let's hold our fire with anything regarding that issue, since the chairperson of the committee that investigated has requested. Okay? And then we discuss them on Tuesday. But we can discuss, let's conclude the education issues. I had allowed Honorable Rabshija.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker.
No, colleagues, I will not run the House on procedure. In one sitting, if I have around 50 procedures, because procedures have become one way of people to submit, you know. So please.
Yeah,
please,
thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I want to thank the government for the efforts that they have been making to make sure that every other child in this country goes to school. That is under universal primary education. It has gone to secondary and tertiary. But then as we think about that, we also have a big challenge, Right Honorable Speaker. The challenge that we have, that there is a very high dropout rate. If every year for the last 10 years, 1.3 million have been going to school, enrolled in primary one, but you find that about a third are those that, only a third that sits the examinations, particularly in primary, then we have a problem. We have to find out where does it come from and what remedy can we put in place to make sure that these children are not wasted along the way, because we say they become pregnant. We don't know whether others don't come across the borders and then from the refugee camps, and then they become our students, and finally they go back. With that challenge, Right Honorable Speaker, we have the issue of the divide and rule. Chapter 4 of our Constitution talks about equity, but we have a social divide where some teachers are more important than others. And the other side, we know that there are children, not everybody will go for that science. We have those, most of us here are arts teachers or humanities. But we know that we are here because we went to school and succeeded. So what is going to come about those people whose children are doing art subjects, humanities, but they are not but the teachers are at school, but they don't mind what happens because we have already divided the people. If we have divided people, and yet the Constitution, Chapter 4, talks about equal work for equal pay, which is not happening right now. And we were told, Right Honorable Speaker, that...
Thank you. Now, colleagues, with the guidance that we got, I'm going to reopen the debate general on State of the Nation address. If it's to issues of on education, we can continue them on Tuesday. Now, I have some whips who had also booked space, but I'll first pick Honorable Martin Muzari, Honorable Brandon Chintu, and then I got Honorable Annette Mugisha, and then Honorable Nanda Mafabi. No, not Honorable Nandara. Not Honorable Nandara. Honorable Semuju, because he booked under FDC whip. They booked their space as whips. Yes. Whips have a special, that's why they are whips. Okay? Yeah. So they represent their parties. And I'm going to give you colleagues now. We've opened up. Let's move 3 minutes each.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I stand to support the motion about the President's speech. Right Honourable Speaker, the President talked about socio-economic transformation in this country. That was the key word in his speech. Right Honourable Speaker, as we talk today, the programs that are ongoing in the country, basically to improve the socio-economic status of our people. One of them is parish development model. Right Honourable Speaker, the President has fulfilled his mandate that he pledged in the budget of 100 million per parish in the financial year 2022-2023. Colleagues, the money is on the circles, 100 million. I'm talking with evidence because my district has given me information that the 100 million is there. If you don't have information, it's better you contact your district. I'm talking because I represent the people of Ozaya that is in Kamuli district. Mr. Speaker, I beg for your protection. I beg for your protection. My colleagues from the opposition side seem not to have this information.
Now,
colleagues.
Honorable Martin, now, colleagues, what we are doing is boring. You bully number two. Also, Honorable colleagues, I guided you. Stop exchanging with people who are not on record. Anyone who will be reading your submission will ask himself, whom was he responding to? What was wrong? Because you are on record, they are not on record. Okay? So continue where you feel you're being harassed. Please stop and ask for protection.
So, Right Honourable Speaker, we received the challenge that we have as leaders right now is to make sure that this money reaches the intended beneficiaries. Right Honourable Speaker, we have challenges in our districts. Our people are complaining so much about our parish chiefs, our CDOs, who are supposed to facilitate paperwork for these people to receive this money. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I just want to give information to my colleagues that is important that we go down and make sure that this money reaches out to the intended beneficiaries. Right Honourable Speaker, the President gave a narrative of how developed countries have reached where they are today. The narrative he gave was that these countries have basically developed as a result of service industry. Colleagues, you know that as a country we've entirely depended on agriculture as a main source of spark of development in our economy. The President is changing the narrative, and in a way of doing so, he's promoting technology in this country, science and innovation. We've seen many innovations coming. One of them is Chira Motors, and many others. We have to support the President in this. Yes, Right Honourable Speaker, I beg for protection.
Honourable
Right Honourable
Speaker,
Speaker,
you're protected.
Thank you so much.
Clerk, I hope you said 3 minutes. That's what the rule is.
Right Honourable Speaker, we passed money here On 17th of November 2022, to the end of NITA, this money was basically to digitalize. And the intended beneficiaries are supposed to be our schools. Our schools are supposed to get laptops or computers. Right Honorable Speaker, up to date, we have not received service from this money that we passed here. It was $140 million, which is about 530 billions Ugandan shilling.
Thank you, Honorable Brandon Chintu. Then Honorable Catherine Mavenjina, and then Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to join my colleagues to appreciate such a wonderful and a moving State of Nation address. As the President addresses the agricultural status in this country and also looking at the economic level, Uganda as a country, we are appreciating that we are the high, massive level of consumption. I would like to appreciate the concern of the President that the infrastructure in this country has been richly out. I know members from here, from very far constituencies, can bear witness that we can actually have very proper roads that our farmers and those that we are anticipating actually into agricultural products can reach the market, and members from different constituencies like Honorable Saz can reach Kampala and also do legislation. So the infrastructure has been a very key note. And then when you look at the technology, Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda is really running very fast in technological advances. If we are trying to digitalize, it's very surprising that most members, when they are articulating issues, they are referring to other countries in terms of technology. But if we appreciate as a country, and the President is focusing on that, I know we shall be legislating very far that people in further reach, say in Buyukwe and elsewhere, can still join as a country. Technology, we appreciate that patriotic speech, and Right Honorable, we are really here to call on members that we should support. As Parliament, we try to do appropriations that are best to support the presidential address. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Yes, I think I had picked Honorable Mavenjina, Honorable Aned, Honorable Sem, Honorable Amero.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Right Honorable
Please set 3 minutes.
for giving me this opportunity.
Okay.
I would like to sincerely thank His Excellency, the President of Uganda, for the precise and State of the Nation address delivered on 7th of June 2023. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I would like to talk about a few of the areas which were covered by His Excellency the President. I would like to talk about Myoga and the parish development models. These were enterprises that were founded by the President and the government of Uganda to get rid of poverty amongst our people, especially our electorate. Your Excellency, Right Honorable Speaker, it is our collective responsibilities as leaders to ensure that we support these programs and we supervise them so that they benefit our people adequately. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, allow me to talk briefly about corruption. I would like to say that each and every one of us has a policeman within himself or herself. What I mean here is that each one of us has a live conscience, so that whatever you want to do or whatever you are about to do, if you feel that you are not doing the right thing, with the guidance of the policeman within you, you can easily tell that what you are about to set up to do is going to lead you to corruption. And therefore, we must all listen carefully to the conscience and the policemen which are within us. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I would like to very much congratulate His Excellency the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. I would like to congratulate our gallant soldiers, the police forces, the prison, and all the security agencies for keeping peace and security amongst our people. Peace and security begins with each and every one of us. We must all be collectively responsible for peace and security. Right Honorable Speaker, there are some people who have always asked me, then do we eat peace and security? Without peace and security, we cannot even get what we want to eat. Peace and security is a priority.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, I'm seeing the time is, I don't know, but there is a, please let's take our seats. Honorable colleagues, there is a habit I've seen cropping up here. We are in a house, you decide to hold your meetings inside the house. Some of you even walk over, cross over, you stand, you start talking to someone, you even give a high five to each other. And this is the parliament. And that's why we give you the lobbies. If you want to talk to your colleague, you make a sign, you walk to the lobby, you do what you're doing. Then here we listen to every member submitting in silence. Okay? So I request you, honorable colleagues, we don't need to be enforcing. Also, want me to be saying so and so, so and so. It doesn't look good on you and the house in general. So just let's ensure we have silence here. We listen to a colleague, okay? So let's just do quickly. Colleagues, I'm on a debate. There are issues now. There are points for which you're going to make me become extremely difficult. Allow me to conclude the debate here. Please, Honorable Annette, not every matter of procedure is allowed. It's on the speaker. I just want you to know that. Not every time everyone says procedure, you must speak it. Honorable Annette.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Permit me to salute His Excellency Kaguta Museveni for having comprehensively covered very many things in his State of the Nation address. His Excellency the President passionately talked about agriculture and provision of quality agricultural inputs as our backbone of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, I come in the constituency where many people engage in perennial cash crops, which include tea, coffee, bananas, and many others. However, we have a very big challenge of fake and expensive fertilizers. Right Honorable Speaker, very many farmers are registering, and they have even opted to start uprooting the tea plantation because of those losses. Right Honorable Speaker, I sit here and ask myself, where is UNBS in this? Because they are mandated to manage standards of goods and services in this country. First of all, in my constituency and across the country, the tea plantation, the coffee plantation are employing the locals who get daily income. But here, UNBS is frustrating the people. Where can we run to? I want to pray and ask the Almighty God that the government of Uganda prioritize subsidizing the prices of fertilizers. Secondly, let us engage the technical people to evaluate the quality of fertilizers in this country. And lastly, colleagues, members of parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Semuju, Honorable Amero.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I presented a motion and I lost. Since I am a Democrat, I want to join colleagues in thanking the President because, Mr. Speaker, the President had said that at 75 you are really tired. But since at 78 he is still able to deliver a State of Nation address, we need to thank him. The Honorable Aisa Agawa thanked him for not sleeping, for hard work. She forgot that the President has sacrificed his entire family. The wife is a Minister for Education. The son is a senior presidential advisor. The son-in-law, Mr. Audrey Kroawogo, is senior presidential advisor on export. His brother, General Salim Saleh, is a senior presidential advisor. Some children, directors. Really, we can't thank this family enough. This kind of sacrifice, Mr. Speaker, our president is the only one who is doing this on the continent. You appoint your wife a minister, your brother a presidential advisor, your son a presidential advisor, your son...
Point of order.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I have been here in this parliament for now 2 years. I have followed the Honorable Semuju debate. I have followed him when he brings a point of order or procedure, and I've been listening carefully. Now, my observation is that whenever he comes up to speak, when you look around, you'll find some of our colleagues who are, because you know we take our lunch and then come here, and some of us are maybe sleepy, and that's a time, that is the time when he stands up to speak. Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, my observation now is that everyone is alert. Is Honorable Semuju in order to bring his energizer at a time when everyone is alert? I thank you.
No. Kind of proceed and conclude. But the clarification I want to make, I chair this house, and I never see members of parliament sleeping in this house. So I don't want it to remain on record that members go eat, come sleep in parliament. No, no, no. That's a very, very wrong message. Please, Honorable.
I agree with you, Right Honorable Speaker, but it was just a simple medical observation. I thank you.
Please, colleagues, I just want to inform you, colleagues, anything that can put the image of this house into disrepute will not be tolerated here. Yeah, so that is totally wrong to say members go eat and come here at sleep in the house. So please, Honorable colleague, withdraw that statement.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I withdraw.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Honorable Semuju.
Mr. Speaker,
conclude, Honorable.
I beg, since I am a whip and I'm being interrupted by an MP who said he wants to sleep. Mr. Speaker, I need to be helped whether nepotism has changed the meaning, that you can have the entire family so special that presidential advisors are picked there. ministers of education who can't attend parliament and can send their juniors to attend every now and then are picked from that family. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Semuju, you know, there is a language we agreed to use here. Okay? Honorable Peter, please. Honorable Peter, kindly take your seat. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, we've been handling this issue before. So I know, that's why I'm saying Honorable Peter should sit. We said here that the ministers we approve are ministers of state and cabinet ministers. So let us use the language that is standard to avoid, you know, reactions. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I am sorry, the Minister of State.
You see, please, you people, excuse me. Excuse me. Everyone in this house, whether you're Prime Minister, whether you're who, you're under the authority of the Speaker. I don't want to be disturbed when I'm in my seat here. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, I need peace. Okay? Please. Your members are the ones interrupting a member. And what you forget is simple. When you interrupt a member and he switches on again, he gets a fresh time. Because me as a presiding officer, I go with the microphone getting automatically off. I don't have a timer here. The timer is automatic. So when you interrupt a member and he resumes, he gets free time. So it's tell your members not to interrupt a member. He finishes. I'm not giving him any more time. It's your members. So I don't want your statements of you people you want to bring down our government. No. Please, please. I want peace. I want peace here, okay? Yeah. Anyone here, please. Anyone, if you're not satisfied, please. Honorable Semuju?
Mr. Speaker, I need to be helped to understand whether nepotism has changed the definition that you can staff your government with the family members and then you walk to Parliament of Uganda in all constituencies and you still want to speak as a head of state. What is it that is so special with this family? That everybody in the family, either a presidential advisor, a minister, a commander in the military.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, first of all, with due respect to Honorable Semuju Nganda, he's 12 years in Parliament. I am 12 years in Parliament. I would like to ask and seek clarification as he raised a point of order. Whether there's any provisions of the laws of Uganda in his government. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is talking about the family. Mr. Speaker, when the President and General Salim Saleh picked up guns to fight for the liberation of this country. Mr. Speaker, I'm raising a point of order. When General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and the senior presidential advisor on defense picked up guns to go and fight to liberate this country, where was the question of nepotism at that specific time? General Kainerugaba, Honorable Semuji is talking about, is a serving soldier who joined willingly. He joined the forces willingly. Is Honorable Semuju Nganda in order to continue insinuating, demeaning the personality of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in this parliament? Is in order, Mr. Speaker, sir?
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable colleagues, I guided when we were starting the debate. Honorable colleagues, can we listen to one another? Can we have order? I guided when we were starting the debate. I said the debate is about the content of the speech of the president. I guided. Okay? Now, I don't want to be a teacher when I'm presiding. Yeah, because we are all understanding people, we all got, you know. So, let us debate the content of the speech, okay? So I'm moving it on over Susan Amero. Because I'm seeing it's going to be an exchange between some people. Let's move on. Yeah. Honorable Susan Amero.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Zemja, I had an issue because...
Right Honorable Speaker,
Right Honorable Amero, because you kept again repeating the same. And it's outside the content of the State of the Nation address. So, Honorable Amero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to join the rest of the members in thanking the President for the precise exposure of the State of Nation address. And I want to most sincerely thank the President for noting that he's working with the people who are not doing right things and who are giving him wrong figures and wrong advice. I want to thank him very much that even after noting that, we have not seen him take steps to discipline these human beings who have been giving wrong figures to him, because he came up with very good figures that show that our country is going ahead, and yet the technocrats who are occupying some offices under his leadership are giving wrong figures, and nothing has been done by the leadership. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the President above all for the tarmac that we have seen from Soroti to Karamoja. For me, I'm proud because it passes in my place. It has helped us. We've been hearing about government, but we had never seen a tarmac road. We would see it after getting out of those areas of Amuria, Karamoja, and we would see it past there. Above all, the issue of education is a good point that the President noted. However, I was so disappointed to hear that the students' loan scheme is scrapped. Yet we took a lot of time in this House to work on the rules, the law, and we spent a lot of money doing benchmarking, and we were assured that due diligence was done on this project. We thought it was going to help our poor children because they don't see.
Thank you. Honorable Max Ochai, Honorable Enos Asime. Only one whip came to to book space. Yeah. But I'm going to pick you, Honorable colleagues. You know, we are running this debate we shall run it for another like 5-10 days, because we want each one of you to tell us about the state of the nation in your area.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, in the eastmost district of Uganda, that is Tororo, where I come from, and specifically West Budama North constituency, which I represent in this parliament, it is said that if you want to find your way, you must know where you are going. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion. And in my presentation, I'll focus mainly on the necessary conditions that His Excellency the President identified in his address to ensure that we realize rapid economic growth and socio-economic transformation. Mr. Speaker, when you refer to section 1 of the speech, you will note that His Excellency the President was able to clearly and precisely state the macroeconomic objective of his government. And to restate, he said that over the medium-term period, he intends to ensure that the government of Uganda promotes economic growth that will be estimated at about 5.5% per annum this financial year, and over the medium term, ranging between 6.5% per annum to 7.7% per annum. Mr. Speaker, that already is a clear indication of a brilliant person who knows what a policy objective is, and I thank him for that. Mr. Speaker, sir, In outlining...
Just conclude, Honorable Max. Switch on and conclude.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. In promoting that growth, he identified in Section 1 a number of sources of that growth. And the very first one he identified is macroeconomic stability. We all know that macroeconomic stability is the sine qua non for growth, because with the low level of inflation, an economy is able not only to ensure that activities are undertaken in such a way that growth can be realized, but also the aggregate demand through consumption can also be enhanced. And with that, therefore, I want to thank him so much for identifying that prerequisite. When you refer to Section 15...
Oh, I told you to conclude, and I hope you've concluded.
When you refer to Section...
Honorable Enos, no, I didn't add you full time. I just added you to conclude your point. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to support the motion on two grounds. One, I want to thank the President for the achievements we made in the coffee sector. In the interest of time, I want to limit myself to the coffee sector and the education sector. One, the coffee sector, as of 1989, we had 2.3 million bags in terms of production. As of 2021, we had moved to 8.4 million bags. And in terms of value of exports, we moved from $260 million US dollars to $862 million US dollars. That is, in terms of percentages, that is 367% to 367% and 326% respectively. I want to thank the government of Uganda in that. But through you, Mr. Speaker, to the Right Honorable Prime Minister and honorable members, I kindly request that for us not to lose these achievements, we should review the policy of supplying seedlings to farmers. As of last budget, we never provided seedlings to farmers. We cannot sustain these achievements unless we provide for the seedlings. I pray that in the coming budget, we take note of that and see where we can get money for that. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the government, of course, stated by the President, on the achievement we've made in the education sector. Luckily, the Minister of Education is here. When they mentioned the achievements we've made specifically on having a primary school in every parish and a secondary school in every sub-county, there's two policy defects, I would call them, because when they were putting up these policies, they failed to look at the population distribution.
Thank you. Debate suspended. Prime Minister's time. Next item. It's 4 p.m. Rules require us to go for Prime Minister's time at 4 p.m.
Item 6, Prime Minister's time.
Right Honourable Prime Minister? No, I think clerk, we can start with item number 5, then she continues with Prime Minister's time.
Item 5, statement by the Prime Minister on government business for the succeeding week, 11th, 13th July 2023, pursuant to Rule 28 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, allow me to submit the following business for the week of 11th up to 13th July this year. And I'm doing this under Rule 28 of our Rules of Procedure. Right Honorable Speaker, we shall present the Explosive Bill 2023. We shall also, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, present a list of international conventions, treaties, and protocols that Uganda is part to and has not ratified as required by Rule 40 of our Rules of Procedure. Right Honorable Speaker, laying
of Biofuels Regulation 2022. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Right Honourable Prime Minister. Next item.
Item number 6, Prime Minister's time.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, the Honourable Aisha Agaba Black, Member of Parliament of Bugangai's East, she says that we have 18 industrial hubs in this country and that the President recently commissioned one hub at the Industrial Skilling Center in Masaka, which made the hubs totaling to 19. Her prayer is that the Right Honourable Prime Minister, that may I update this House on the Greater Masaka Industrial Skilling Center. Right Honourable Masaka Industrial Skilling Center. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Greater Masaka Industrial Skilling Center is part of 24th this year. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I participated fully in this launch because I was present. The hub offers free hands-on training to the youth aged between 18 to 35, drawn from the 9 districts that make up the Greater Masaka sub-region and Masaka City. And these are Lakai, Liantonde, Chotera, Masaka, Masaka City, Luengo, Bukomansimbi, Karangara, Karungu, and Sembabule. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Industrial Hub is a presidential initiative by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The objective of the hub is to, among others, eliminate unemployment among the youth and change the economic status of the people who never had a chance to attain formal education. The hub offers services such as the hands-on training to youth, that is skilling, value addition, that is coffee on maize. They have maize haras that have been delivered to add value to coffee and maize respectively. The common user facilities are also there. They have a state-of-art machines in welding and carpentry. Trades have been installed for common use by both graduate trainees and the community. This will enhance their income through increased production. There is a 4-acre demonstration farm to train farmers in the respective regions. This is across the country. This will contribute to the information to the transformation of Uganda into a middle-income economy through imparting skills. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the courses offered, among others, include that is tailoring, hairdressing, building and construction, carpentry and joinery, metal fabrication, food processing and bakery. Currently, the hub has a total of 221 trainees who are undertaking this training at Masaka Zonal Industrial Hub. Upon completion of the 6 months hands-on training, the trainees will obtain a minimum level 1 certificate of Uganda vocational qualifications under the Directorate of Industrial Training, the Ministry of Education and Sports, and are ready to be self-employed. The Youth Caring Hub was launched at Chiimbwe village in Bugabira parish in Masaka. Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, this is a great opportunity, and I urge the youth to take advantage of this presidential initiative that will improve their livelihood. Question number 2 came from Honorable Guzuli Dennis, Member of Parliament, Maracha County. Honorable Speaker and colleagues,
just right,
the Uganda Intergovernmental Physical Transfers
Right, Honorable Prime
Program.
Minister, sorry for the interruption. Honorable colleagues, Rule 41, the Prime Minister does not give any response on any matter on what, as long as it is under this rule. Okay? It's only the leader of opposition who has the right of reply or comment. So please read the rule properly. You leave her to present properly as per the rule.
Thank you so much, Your Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know I usually meet His Excellency, so. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Honorable Lee Dennis, Member of Parliament, Maracha County, the Uganda Intergovernmental Physical Transfers project has stalled. His prayer is, can the Right Honorable Prime Minister update the House on this project? Honorable Speaker, my response is that it is true that UGIFT has experienced delayed completion of works in the course of executing this project. To remedy this challenge, the Ministry of Education and Sports advised the districts with delays to evaluate the remaining works and retender the civil works. The construction is therefore ongoing and progressing well in those districts that were advised. The only exception is where local governments have delayed to revote the funds and hence delaying the tendering process. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we have also noted that there has been lotting. One company is given many construction sites. We are discussing this matter and we are about to decide to stop this rotting business. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Atiam Emmanuel Otara, Member of Parliament, Otiam Emmanuel Otara, Member of Parliament, West Budama, South Tororo District. It's like the process of implementing our flagship program, the parish development model, is being done through an electronic system whereby money is sent directly from the Ministry of Finance to the parish circles. The approval of beneficiaries is also being done electronically using computers, and the beneficiaries who are living below the poverty line must also have a mobile phone or telephone lines registered in their names to achieve this money. Unfortunately, according to him, that most of the parishes in rural areas are missing out on PDM because they lack computers to be used in the approval process, and the beneficiaries too do not have mobile phones to receive the money. Such rural parishes without computers are now experiencing a situation where money is lying idle in their account, in their parish circle accounts, without being accessed by the supposed beneficiaries. His prayer that the government urgently addresses the lack of computers as the major hindrance to the success of PDM currently in rural sub-counties and parishes across the country. He's also bringing another prayer that the government looks into workable mechanisms of buying cheap phones for the beneficiaries of the PDM, such as deducting 50,000 Uganda shillings from the 1 million that would be due to each beneficiary, or indeed any other workable mechanism that will lead to the poor peasants acquiring phones for the purposes of ensuring that PDM succeeds among the 39% of the people outside the money economy. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, my response is that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development signed an MOU with the commercial banks supporting the PDM arrangement to provide a computer to each circle, carry out financial literacy, open up PDM circle accounts, and charge a small interest on the circle accounts. That means the commercial banks will provide the PDM circles with a computer. On the phones, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, all PDM beneficiaries are required to have bank accounts, mobile money accounts, or use urgent banking where a person is given a token from the circle and pays through a banking agent. Therefore, there is no arrangement of providing PDM beneficiaries with phones from government. Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister. Honorable colleagues, I don't know whether Honorable Tari is here. Yes, you can see what I was telling you. It would be difficult off-head the Prime Minister to give you such an answer, because she would also need to consult. She's a human being. She doesn't carry the whole government, library in her head. So I encourage you, honorable colleagues, questions which require structured answers, let's use Prime Minister's time. So that, because you're interested in an answer, not in just speaking. Then those ones for oral, we shall be coming here and we ask the Prime Minister. Now, Right Honorable Prime Minister, yesterday, government was asked a few issues which we referred it today for clarification, and your ministers were informed. So I want you to allow me, during your time, I call on the Minister for Trade and the Minister for Local Government. They update us in the few. They respond to members orally. These are not statements. Honourable Minister for Trade, I'm starting with you. Procedure.
Mr. Speaker, Rule 41, under which the Prime Minister answers questions. 41(2)(a) says the Prime Minister may make a statement. So the procedural issue I'm raising, the President wrote to the Prime Minister and copied to all of us on the matters relating to the stealing of iron sheets for Karamoja. Can the Prime Minister, with your guidance, give a statement on the progress made on that particular letter, because we are entitled to information since the letter was copied to us?
Thank you. I ruled yesterday on that matter. That is a matter which is sub judice. And even in responding to a letter, the Prime Minister might choose not to copy to us. She can respond to the one who wrote to her. If it had been addressed to us, we would be demanding. But the letter was not addressed to us. But since then, this is a sub judice matter, colleagues. Okay? So let's go on. Let's go on with other matters. For us, we debated it here and we closed the debate. If we had not debated it, maybe you would say, but we closed it. So, Honorable Semuju, that one we shall not go back into it.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, yesterday a question was raised by a matter of national importance was raised by one of the members, Honourable Alan Mayanja, about the trucks that are stuck at the border in South Sudan. And I want to apologize that I had not known the coming, so I'm sorry for not being available yesterday. But I was ordered to bring a report today under the Prime Minister's question time, and I want to state that in June, 1 month back, a team of sector members came to my office with a petition indicating that their cargo had been intercepted at the border in Elegu, proceeding to Juba in the Republic of South Sudan. And our ministry did not rest. Immediately we set a team of technical staff, including UNBS, the Ministry of Trade and Industry staff, to go to the border with a team of technical staff to go and pick samples of those goods that have been allegedly having aflatoxins, because that was the allegation by the Republic of South Sudan. Unfortunately, when they reached the border, they found that the trucks were already inside 7 kilometers inside the Republic of South Sudan. And our team was not allowed to enter inside because the matter was already under their republic. And they also said that they could not allow, because their national security had picked interest in that matter. So the team came back and reported. So I led another team which was going to interact with the Minister of Trade and Commerce of the Republic of South Sudan after writing to them, whom we interacted, and we found out that there were issues. The trucks themselves were 450. Other trucks had gone already allowed. Only 45 trucks had been intercepted. And at that time, but later on, the trucks rose to 63, and hence 65. As well, best to wait for South Sudan to take a step and test those, use their testing equipment to disapprove that Ugandan National Bureau of Standards had given them fake goods, but that has not come out. And the report that they brought that they had tested, we asked for a copy of that report. The Republic of South Sudan, up to now, has not given us a report or any copy of the testing that they have done. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I want to state that because of the ping pong that was played at the border and the very several meetings that we have held with no response, we had to engage the head of state. Our head of state has been engaged, and he has taken a step, communicated to the President of South Sudan, and they've agreed that all the trucks that are at the border, that are deep in their country, be brought in the no man's land. 2 teams be set, one from South Sudan and another one from Uganda, to go and witness a verified committee from the East African community, which is going to carry out the verification in that area. And the exercise is going to begin tomorrow. And I want to tell you that I will come back and give you a report after thorough investigation has been done. Thank you.
Now, Honour Minister Ria, you had taken us far. I wish you had started from where you ended. We would have finished long time ago. Honour Minister for Local Government? No, we just needed an update on that matter. Let them update us next week when they finished all this checking.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, there were 3 questions raised under matters of national importance on local government. One was on the expiry of term of office of the LOC 1 and 2 and the women councils. The second one was on the ex gratia, the failure to pay ex gratia for the LOCs and councillors, especially those from the new administrative units. And the third was on the return of funds to Treasury by the local government. Right Honourable Speaker, the first one on expiry of term of office of the LOCs, the current office bearers under Local Council 1 and Local Council 2 are in office, and their term of office expires on the 10th of July this year. We are looking at the challenge of their elections after that. I'm in touch with the Electoral Commission and Finance and Attorney General. The challenge is a finance challenge, but we'll provide the necessary guidance and we'll ensure that the LOC chairpersons remain working with the necessary guidance. We'll provide that early next week. Secondly, on the failure to pay ex gratia and allowances of our LOCs and councillors, Right Honourable Speaker, it is true that since 2021, we've had an increase, a big increase in the number of councillors, mainly because of the administrative units which had been created and had not been operationalized. And then secondly, the formula for election of councillors in the Local Government Act, which is based on the population figures of the local governments. I'll give the example of Wakiso District. I think in the last term we had around 60 councillors. We now have 107 councillors. Unfortunately, this increase has not been matched with an increase in the budget to pay the councillors' allowances. Especially those from the new administrative units have not been paid since they assumed office in May 2021. We have carried out some inquiry and we are compiling the information so that we are able to state clearly for each district how much we owe the councillors in terms of areas. Payment of councillors and chairpersons ex gratia and allowances is a statutory obligation on government. We must do that. So we shall provide the necessary budget and support so that Ministry of Finance originates the supplementary budget to make sure that this obligation is met. The third one was on the return of funds to Treasury. Mr. Speaker, sir, under the Public Finance Management Act, Section 26, any balance of funds not utilized by any local government at the end of the financial year must be returned to Treasury. But it is known that if the money has been committed and that information has been given to Treasury by the accounting officer, there are 2 scenarios this financial year, or what happened at the end of June. One was late release of funds to the local governments. Some money was released somewhere in mid-June, and it was virtually impossible for the districts to carry out procurement. And it was difficult also to do recruitment. So this money had to be returned to Treasury. It has been swept back. But also there was a challenge of, the second issue was the failure or the delay to clear the request for recruitment by Ministry of Public Service, the District Service Commissions. So don't be surprised, colleagues, if you see a lot of money under the wage bill returned to Treasury from your districts. The proposed way forward for this is, number one, beginning of the quota, not at the end. We're going to follow this up so that really we don't make life hard for the local governments. You release money mid-June and you expect the two weeks The districts have advertised and got a tenderer and so on. It does not work. A second one was the issue of reverting funds to the local governments. Cabinet position on the guidance of the president is by August, the money which is committed for service delivery, in order not to deny services to the people, must be reverted to these local governments. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. I think that's very clear. Supplementary question is not provided for under this time. Also, that one is not provided for under this time. We are in the Prime Minister's time, honorable colleagues. On women councils who are supposed to answer, the Minister for Gender is not here. So, but Prime Minister Prime Minister is here.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, I want to remind my sister that last year the same question came in this house. The Minister for Gender, together with the Electoral Commission, had planned these elections last year. This same house had allocated very little money for this exercise. And this year, Your Excellency, Right Honorable Speaker, the many meetings I have with the President have. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the money to conduct elections for LC1 and LC2 is not in the budget.
There is a point of order on you. You can guess from who?
Mr. Speaker,
please, Honorable Semuju, you're the one on the floor. The Prime Minister is not on record.
even if she was on record, my judgment is known. But the point of order I am raising, Mr. Speaker, Parliament does not allocate money. There is nowhere, neither in the Constitution nor in the public finance. Parliament appropriates, approves. We have often been accused we are the ones who did not give this money. We are the ones who did not give this money. Is the Prime Minister in order, even if she's just 2 years in that office, not to know that Parliament simply approves and she accuses Parliament of not allocating money, a function that is done by government, even if she did not attend orientation?
Now, Honorable, you had questions, you turned them into a quarrel. Yeah? You had issues. So, you see, colleagues, it's a shared responsibility for all of us. If money is not in the budget, and we want a ministry to go and implement, but the money in the budget we approved, there is no money. So how will it? So did we ask the harder questions when we were doing appropriation? Insist it must be in, you know? So it's a shared responsibility, and government works together. Parliament is not different from government. We are all arms of one body, which is government and the country. So let's work together. We stop accusing each other, especially on such matters of appropriation. We share responsibility. So Prime Minister should not accuse Parliament, and the Honorable Semuju should not accuse government. We share, all of us are in between.
Honorable Speaker, my brother is known that whenever he talks about the Prime Minister, he feels very good. And for me, I enjoy.
Honorable Prime Minister, please continue and conclude.
Honorable Speaker, we require 59 billion to conduct LOC and women council elections, which money we don't have in the budget. We had a meeting, a high political level meeting, where the president requested that team where I am, that we come up with guidelines on how to help operationalize those in office. We extend their term of office. We have no alternative.
Thank you. We are waiting. They'll end up coming here. So let's wait patiently and we'll see. Honorable Nkwasibwe Henry, followed by Honorable Issa Abidie Aga and Honorable Komakech Christopher. 2 minutes each.
Thank
no,
you,
1
Mr.
minute
Speaker.
each. It's 1 minute on this oral answer because I want to pick most of you. Honorable Karim. Quick.
I rise on the matter of national importance.
No, ask a question to the Prime Minister straight, Honorable. Straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Honorable Prime Minister. In my constituents, there are a place called Chijojo, through which Ntunga Momeramahiru Hills Road passes. Whenever it rains, water flows directly from the hills and cuts off the road. Currently, there are piles of soil in the middle of the road due to blockage of culverts, and this is leading to accidents. In fact, one of the victims of such accidents is one Kamsha Stephen, who is currently admitted at Murago National Referral Hospital. While in attendance of Roads Committee meeting in Tungam District Headquarters, I reported the matter to UNRWA Kabare, but nothing has been ever done. I also notified you, Right Honorable Speaker, about the same. And
Honorable, you see the problem? Now you've made the story longer. The question should be, Right Honorable Prime Minister, when are you addressing this issue? Very simple. So can you ask the question?
so my question, it is a prayer that government intervenes about this issue and clear the road such that the accidents they don't occur once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nkwasibwe. Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the issue is raising is pertinent, and it is happening on major roads across the country. We had a meeting today morning with Honorable Katumba Wamara and the stakeholders, Executive Director UNRWA and Minister of Finance. We have agreed that UNRWA should make sure that all the roads in the state which he has mentioned, not only his road, Mirama Hills, almost across the country, we have agreed that these roads may be maintained. It's a directive from the President, and we are going to implement this, starting from Mirama Hills.
Thank you. Honorable Aga. Colleagues, I'm starting with members who registered matters of national importance.
Thank
I
you,
promise them.
Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and the House, I want to bring to your attention that hardly a day goes by without a major insecurity incident in my constituency, Jinja North, in Jinja City. They are killing people in the areas of Bugembe, Budumbuli, Wanyange, Buwekula, Mafubira, among others. Panga wielding gangs have been attacking residents since last September, killed and injured many. Notable among them is Chief Bangabo Rogers, a journalist and son to the Information Minister of Obwachabazinga Bwabusoga, who was killed on the 19th of June. Nyanga Prose, a weightlifter, killed on the 5th of January. Ntale Nathan Bogere, among others.
Right Honorable Prime Minister? No. Please, I told you to ask a question, you went into a story.
The question is
So
very
Right Honourable
clear.
Prime Minister?
You made your point. And you have an able Prime Minister in front of you. The Honourable Speaker and colleagues, now that I can see General here. General, you come and answer on my behalf.
A Prime Minister who is able can even summon the or delegate. I mean,
Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, through my lead of government business, I want to report that indeed what he's saying is true. We've already picked it in our intel, and appropriate action will be taken, and we shall report back on the action taken.
Honorable Minister, it's very important to work closely with the readers, because the readers face many questions. So the Honorable Aga and the readers from Jinja, you need to involve them in community mobilization, not investigation.
Thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you. Honorable Komakech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Right Honorable Prime Minister. Pade district was born in 2001 and was put on the Uganda Land Information System. In 2016, Pade district mysteriously disappeared from the Uganda Land Information System. Right now, infrastructure cannot be erected because the owners of those infrastructures that want to develop them cannot access land titles. However, Right Honorable Speaker, it's so disturbing that in 2016, Achua Ranch was given to particular individuals with land certificate. But right now, as we speak, should Komakech, should Ajok, should Okot want to develop land, including the district where the district sits, we do not have land titles in Pade. Can we get back onto that?
Thank you. Right Honorable Prime Minister. Honorable Ariko, be preparing.
Right Honorable Speaker, a member has come up with a very good question. I request that you allow me come here after thorough, research and give him an accurate answer.
Thank you. Honorable Ariko, followed by Honorable Taigwa, followed by Honorable Naru Imabeti, and Honorable Alelo Tomaza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to know if the Right Honorable Prime Minister is aware that in the districts of Bukedea, Kumi, Soroti City, Soroti District, and all the others around, we receive power supply basically for 3 days a week. That is when Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The other time there is no power. Mr. Speaker, sir, this affects productivity as well as businesses of the local people there. Mr. Speaker, is there anything the Right Honorable Prime Minister is going to do in order to address the problem of perennial lack of power supply in our region? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I will get in touch with the member and find out which company was hired by government to supply those areas, if it is Umeme, UEDCL, and the others. And we sit in a meeting. I will request that he attends this meeting so that we have this problem solved once and for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Tahigwa, Honorable Naru Imabeti, Honorable Alelo Tom, Honorable Keyo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Prime Minister, my issue is on regularization of employment documents. As of now, many government employees have to travel from districts to the line ministries, PSEs, to ask for regularization. Now, when you reach at the ministry, for example, Ministry of Education, they will ask you for a record of payment. You go to the accountant general, you cannot get anything because from before 1994, I think they had not computerized, so there is no such information. My question is, why can't this regularization be done at the district level? Because the staff, government employees, travel from district to...
Thank you. Right Honorable Prime Minister. You had already asked a question.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I want you to remember that last year, this House sanctioned an audit on payrolls. So the Auditor General's office has been going around the country to regularize, to remove these ghost workers they have been talking about from our payrolls. And that requires people to be present personally. And so, if there are those other issues that have come because of that action, I request those members to report to the districts or to their cows, because we have had regular meetings with the chief administrative officers, the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Local Government, and many other ministries. So I request the member to put it in writing so that next week I come here with an authentic answer.
Thank you. Honorable Naru Mabeti. Point of procedure. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. In your communication, Right Honorable Speaker, on Tuesday, you guided that the Prime Minister will give guidelines to the country on the issue of DNA tests. Would there need to be procedure right for the Prime Minister to do the same? Thank you so much.
Thank you. It can be done, but not under Prime Minister's time. Next.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, yesterday when I drove through the Northern Bypass, right now it's under construction and we have a contractor in place. We could find that it's really becoming so much insecure, and of late there are several accidents. Could we please know when we are having the contractor urgently putting safety on and reflectors so that accidents ongoing can really reduce? And also, can we get to know when we shall have the general road inspection reports that are supposed to be got annually here for safety of Ugandans? I thank you.
Thank you, Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, we handled that matter today. In the other meeting, I've told you, the procurement process is complete. The contractor has been given that work. He's currently mobilizing. Yes.
Thank you.
The lighting is part of the contract.
Thank you. Honorable Alelo Tom Aza. I think Honorable Narima, they've given even beyond what you asked. Honorable Aza.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, on 26th of June 2023, a bus traveling from Moyo to Kampala rammed into 7 elephants, thereby injuring a number of people. And in a similar vein, accident happened last year where 10 people died because of issues related to also elephants. As I talk now, elephants are terrorizing the people of Dufile sub-county in Moyo district, where they are destroying houses and displacing the people and crops. May I know from you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, as to when electric fencing will commence? Thank you very much.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I want to condole with the families and also request the Minister of Wildlife and Antiquities, this man here, see what to do with your elephants.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, through the Prime Minister. Indeed, I agree. It was unfortunate, but the bus rammed into 1 elephant, not 7. Otherwise, that would be. But what we are doing currently, we are procuring materials for electric fencing. We will be doing around 100 kilometers in that area. We have the poles already secured, and in Makshon Falls, currently actually at the airport, electrical materials. Second to that, just a week ago, His Excellency passed out rangers. We trained an additional 855. We will be deploying around 110 in those areas to help mitigate these challenges.
Thank you. Honorable Keyo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, the opposition in Kenya has called for demonstration beginning tomorrow, the popular Sabasaba. Well aware that Kenya is our gateway to the coast. How prepared are we as a country in terms of fuel reserves and then our businessmen who still have their goods on transit?
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, bearing in mind of the diplomatic relations we have with our sister country, I want to allay the fears of our brother that this country has leadership and we are in charge of this government. Be assured the fuel we have in the reserves, and that will continue to come even through Tanzania. We are very safe.
Thank you. Honorable Bwanika, Honorable Msira John, Honorable Sasaga, Honorable Florence Kambu.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, about 2 months ago, we requested the Office of the Prime Minister for support for Kiziba ward in Masaka City, including Mabati. We want to know, Right Honorable Speaker, when are we receiving support after the disaster, because we sent in our letter 2 months ago?
Thank you. Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, you are aware that during these 2 months, the Office of the Prime Minister and the stores were going through investigations. So those investigations were concluded recently, and now we are ready to give Mawati through the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness. And the minister is here, she can attest to that. We are going to give you Mawati.
Thank you. Honorable Msira John, Honorable Sasaga, Honorable Sasaga. Under Prime Minister's time, please. It's clear, its procedure is clear, defined under Rule 41, and I'm not seeing anything wrong with it. Continue.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, Udadili East has 18 sub-counties, and 4 town councils. All of them are on the steep slopes of Mount Elgon. During the last rains season, all the road network was destroyed. The rains have again begun. The 1 billion allocated to Sinoko district is a drop in the sea. What special plans is government having to fix the infrastructure network, including the ladders which were washed out, the tourism ladders in Udadili East to the slope of Mount Elgon?
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Silonko is one of those districts we have earmarked as Office of the Prime Minister to help the citizens. Let me give him, he knows that we have that program which is ongoing. We started with Vududa to relocate, especially those people who are in dangerous enclaves. Government of Uganda provided 57 billion, and our partner, the NGO called Give Directly, is also giving us 7 million. We are also going to relocate some of those people who are in dangerous enclaves to Bunamutie, the government land, and provide them with some land, together with that money, for them to construct the structures. Give Directly has started paying. We are also starting payment next week. Now, in terms of roads and these other infrastructure, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we are aware that some of the roads are trunk roads, those that are under the responsibility of Ministry of Works and UNRA. We also have those that are under the responsibility of the district called feeder roads. Those under the districts, if you find you cannot manage, we have a window through the Ministry of Works where you can apply, and we give you some emergency funding to work on those roads under the contingency fund.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Honorable Kabugo
much.
Florence.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, the people of Kasenyi Fishing Village in Lake Katwe Sub-County, Kasese District, have been displaced by the increased volume in Lake George in Kasese District. The area is located in Queen Elizabeth National Park, about 26 kilometers away from the other community. they don't have any support like food and other non-food items. Right Honorable Prime Minister, when are you coming out to support these people with these items? Thank you.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we have come up with guidelines on how to handle relief items, including non-food items and food. Can I request the member to liaise with the district disaster committee through the COW, and you write a report. We shall handle, members, and we have been handling.
Thank you. Honorable Flavia Karure.
No, relocating the other people. Relocating those people. Right Honorable Speaker, the Office of the Prime Minister in the year 2021-2022 bought land in Kasese. That land was disputed, and they petitioned us to the IGG's office. The IGG has cleared. We can now get some of those people who are distressed to that piece of land.
Thank you. Honorable Flavia Karure.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Kasanda Health Center 4 is more sick than the sick patients that are there. We do not have any ambulance. We have a general ward that that suffocates both men, women, and children who use it, very tiny cubicle. We don't have enough levels of blood, and we have low staffing. My question is, can the Prime Minister provide, 1, an ambulance for Kasanda Health Center, 2, provide a bigger solar system for the health center, because currently midwives are using torches for delivering babies? Can we also be provided with funds to build a general ward that can be separated for both men, women, and the children? And can we be added more blood, because more women in Kasanda die giving birth because they do not have blood? Thank you very much.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, have been to Kasanda Health Center. The hospital is not sick and cannot be sick. Right Honorable Speaker, I will send the Ministry of Health to assess the situation and come up with workable solutions to those issues he has come up with.
Thank you. Honorable Yarugabarex. Honorable Koyechenga Oliver. Honorable Arobo Joan. Colleagues, I found and some which you brought, so all those issues that were captured as matters of national importance and had not been given a chance are the ones I'm clearing. That's why you're seeing I'm getting a list. I have it. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. 10 months ago, I rose up to raise on the issue of the Soroti Regional Referral Hospital maternity ward, where there were no delivery beds, and the beds that are there are in their state. And in the theater, there are no extra lights that are used for operating, and doctors are actually using torches to add on the lights that are there. Even the beds, out of 4 members that can be operated at the same time, patients, we can only operate 2, and there is even no curtains to divide the rooms for the 2 patients. Can I hear from the Right Honorable Prime Minister again today what move you will give to us, because patients are delivering from the floor because of lack of delivery beds? Thank you.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, before becoming a Prime Minister, I was a minister in charge of health, general duties, and I went to that hospital 4 times. So I know what is in Soroti. I know that the structures need to be revamped. In fact, we want to give you affirmative action for that hospital. However, I was in the theater. Soroti Hospital can operate 4 mothers at the same time. So the theater is big enough to do that work. However, if the rate of delivery in Soroti has gone up, we can look for a way of adding more.
Thank you. Honorable Krol Bosco. Honorable Saro Pendi, followed by Honorable Cecilia Ogwal.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Malaba is the gateway to Uganda. And Right Honorable Prime Minister, when you move to Malaba today, you have literally nowhere to pass if you're driving a car. This is a 2-lane road that is, you find 1 lane occupied by vehicles heading towards Kenya. And because the border, they have to go through a process before they go in. People have literally nowhere to pass because you are left with 1 lane. I was physically there and had a problem moving from Malaba to just Tororo. So Right Honorable Prime Minister, I remember the President directed that the Ministry of Works, since there are no funds to construct 4 lanes for now, at least temporarily creates a separate lane, Maram, for these trucks so that they can park there. So Right Honorable
Prime Minister.
What is government doing to resolve this challenge?
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, you will recall that some time back, the Honorable Angura advice, you see the effect. Yes, that is the effect. So,
no, under Rule 41, we don't have that.
Honorable members, sometimes we bring suggestions, and suggestions come with negative effects. I will request that you give me time. Such questions require us to come here with comprehensive answers, which are well thought of. So I will request the Minister of Works to come here with a comprehensive answer to that. Thank you so much.
Right, Honourable, we can capture it in your answer next week on Thursday. Honourable Cecilia Ogwa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to know from my dear sister, the Prime Minister, whether he is aware that UNEP, as the agency that normally register our students for exams, are currently charging exorbitant fee for the late registration. I would like to know from the Prime Minister whether she is aware of that exorbitant amount being charged on students, particularly from our area. And you know our area is still bracketed as the region which is below poverty level. So how do you allow those children to be assessed in the same way like children from other regions and be able to benefit from the examination which is due shortly?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, there's something I forgot to tell my sister before I answer my senior colleague. I have a lot of respect for her. My dear sister, you know that government has started working on SGR, and that will help us to reduce on the traffic, because most of the cargo will be coming, will come by railway. So when we complete the SGR, that problem will be no more. The Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, I am not aware. And now that I have the Minister in charge of education, allow me, Right Honourable Speaker, so that he can give a concrete answer.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Through the Prime Minister, first of
switch on.
The Executive Secretary of UNEP is from our area, Atat. When I talk about our area, I talk about from Lango. Number 2, the question of the rates is one, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to be specific. Allow me bring a statement here to confirm how much is charged, but I think the fee is one across the country. It's not be able to...
Please on Tuesday, Honourable
Tuesday.
Minister.
Thank you.
Honourable Venon Kananyondo.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Prime Minister, we thank the government for the free education,
but I want to bring to your attention that most of the government primary schools are in a soil state. For example, Chisojo Primary School, Tayunja, Buenda, with no toilets. The buildings, the children now are studying under trees. Right, Honorable Speaker, people think that education is free because that's what the government says. But I would like you to clarify what parents are supposed to do. They are not buying books, they are not paying for lunch, they are not even buying school fees because the government says education is free. Secondly, I would like the government also to increase on the money they send to primary government schools because the money is very little. Head teachers can't afford even lunch. For example, we are in Busia at a primary school. That teacher.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, Cabinet came up with a solution to help our children from the poor background. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, you realize the school dropout rate in this country is so high, and this is caused by charges in schools. So we came up with a solution, and this solution requires me to come here with a comprehensive answer so that you members can also support, because it requires money. So my sister, the latrines that are getting filled up, government has been sending money to districts under SFG to districts. So really, a district out of the money that we send, I would also come up with all this money here and give you this accurate answer.
Thank you.
The districts are supposed to use this money to work on those things where the latrine has filled up, where desks maybe have got destroyed, and many other things. Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm only going to make comments on very few questions, about 4. Madam Prime Minister, this question on the Masaka industrial skilling, that skilling center has serious issues, Madam Prime Minister. Because as we talk, the popular community participation is lacking in every aspect. You have avoided, government actually has avoided the participation of stakeholders, the leadership. For instance, the selection of participants is skewed in favor of cadres, the NRM cadres, I must say. The selection, Right Honourable Speaker, of participants in this skilling center is lopsided. It is skewed in favor of those that support NRM. And it is done directly by RDCs. I'm just being a whistleblower, Madam Prime Minister. You better intervene, because RDCs are the ones that are recruiting participants, literally. The second one, it was raised by the Honorable Onguzuli on the Uganda intergovernmental physical transfers. This is a very, very important program, but the challenge that we have is even your response. Your response is way shy on expounding on what is causing, or rather what we could attribute the delays of works to. The program is supposed, I suppose you are paying attention to the response. This program is supposed to improve physical management of resources by local governments, not only in the education sector, but also in the health sector. Your response is only making mention on the education sector, not knowing that the challenges that are caused by these delays of works have resulted in serious contingency liabilities, even loss of lives, and serious service delivery concerns. This response, I think I should combine it with what the Honorable Majezi responded to. You dispensed justice to your questions, but the question, the $1 million question about these unspent balances, which are even generated in this Uganda intergovernmental physical transfers. Why are they never, even when they are returned to the consolidated fund, as per the law, why is it that they are never ever reflected anywhere in our books of accounts? Why? And the revoting, for instance, when will it ever occur in time? The revoting of when is a commitment. There are commitments that are made, all right, but the revoting itself is never done in good time. Yes. Oh, there is a concern, for instance, in Maracha, where 14 districts, Madam Prime Minister, where works have stalled. And a number of these contractors have been fully paid, and they have completely disappeared. Actually, they have been seriously disappeared. And those that are there are very thin on ground. So your investigative machinery must be deployed. Lastly, you hold for me this. Lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, is this standoff between Uganda and Sudan. I read a newspaper this morning online, the East African, Uganda harmful maize, 120 tonnes blocked. You look it up. And you know the disastrous effects of such a statement, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, this maize that is claimed to be having aflatoxins, this is not the first time that we have had alleged quality concerns of our maize. We have had them in the past over these quality concerns in Kenya, even Tanzania, I suppose even Rwanda. One of the multiple reasons for closing the border could have been because of that. Now, one who is patriotic like myself, Mr. Speaker, sir, is not only dismayed, but I'm allowed latitude to think aloud. Is Uganda a victim of a conspiracy? Because now, look, if Kenya, after even the signing of all the protocols to allow free movement of goods, and even when the Uganda Bureau of Standards at that time, facilitated by the Ministry of Trade, they conducted a confirmatory laboratory test on our maize. It was found fit for human consumption. Now, over 120 tonnes have been impounded in Sudan over similar claims. What could be happening to Uganda? Are they conspiring against Uganda because of when NRM overstaying in power, one would be asking such questions. But as I conclude, allow me some fertility in my imagination. I conclude with Madam Speaker, what you are doing to Madam Prime Minister. Madam Prime Minister. About the relocation and eventual settlement of our people who are in these disaster-prone districts is good. The motive is applaudable. But the implementation strategy has serious issues of concern, Madam Prime Minister. Because if we talk about Give Directly, this is my last comment. Give Directly is a charity organization. It has virtually no business with the OPM. Even if you are the one who lobbied, and that's why I came to appreciate you for lobbying to bring Give Directly. But Give Directly, I've interacted with them and other leaders, members of parliament from this region, both Sebei and Bugisu. Their money, the monies they are giving, the 7 million, has no conditionalities. It is free money to them because these are the poorest of the poor, and they are at liberty to use that money to address their household needs, including, yes, of course, even others, but I don't want to go there. So you, the ministry, should come out whole hog and spell out what you are giving in substitution to what these people are leaving behind for massive planting of trees. Short of that, I see lots of sharp disagreements.
Thank you.
With the people that you have identified for relocation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Now, let me do the unusual, because you see, the rule says the leader of opposition may comment, okay, or reply. It denies the Prime Minister a chance to reply. That's why, on the opening of the rule, it allows the Prime Minister to make a statement. So in the next session, the Prime Minister would ordinarily start with the clarification that happened, maybe the other time, and also Rope is not allowed to ask questions when he's making this reply, under Rule 41. But honorable colleagues, you've seen, and I'm really, really impressed, you've seen how you can use 1 minute to ask a question, and you get an answer. Now, that helps us to pick more of you. But if one wants 3 minutes to ask a question, then it means we are just going to be picking a few people. So we shall be trying to use little time. You ask very sharp questions, and you get very sharp answers. But right on, Prime Minister, I've seen you very, very concerned. It seems there is just a simple clarification you wanted to make. Please make it. And then we go to the next item.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. This is a rare chance. Right Honorable Speaker, the leader of opposition said that we are not involving leaders during the selection of our children who are going to be skilled. When we were in Masaka with the president, I saw many leaders from the opposition, including Honorable Kagabo. He even was very happy. In fact, he was very happy. The other day, I saw my brother, the Honorable Ranya Gilbert. He was very happy. In fact, he was just thumping that this time round, government has come up with a very good solution for this country. Right Honorable Speaker, the member needs to know what government has done. Whether you're opposition or NRM, you need to go to the skilling center. It is for all of us. It is for Ugandans. So that you will appreciate the members of the communities who are at that skilling center are from all walks of life. And the country is appreciative. Then he has talked about this issue of Give Directly. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we have an MOU. We came up with guidelines. And the member is aware that we have these guidelines. The members of the community are going to follow. One of the guidelines is very clear. You get 7 million, prepare yourself. Government gives you 10 million. After 2 months or 3, you are relocated to another area where you will put a habitable house, other than looking at you die because of landslides. I am happy that you appreciated. But the members of the community in Teso sub-region, where we are going to give you support, this is just support. Give directly is an NGO that was brought by government. And he's aware, we were there together, me and him, at a function. And so, the minister, he has gone out at an appropriate time.
Right on, I would propose, since this is an issue that, that affects a certain region
Community.
or sub-region, you meet readers of that area.
We have met.
Okay?
I have met them, I don't know how many times.
I don't know what the statement is going to clarify beyond what you can exchange in a meeting. But
Right,
you are allowed any time, right, Honourable Prime Minister?
Yes.
As long as you have government business, by law, we give it priority.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 7 on the order paper, motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Public Accounts, Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the National Water and Sewerage Corporation for the financial year ended 30th June 2022.
Thank you. Chairman, as we've been doing, the report takes 15 minutes so that we have around 30 minutes of debate. And we handle the other report also. Clerk, you will capture the full report. The chair will do a summary.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I beg to lay on table the report of the Committee on Public Accounts, Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, PAC COSASE, on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of National Water and Sewerage Corporation for financial year ended 30th June 2022 and other matters. I beg to lay the report and the attendant minutes thereof, Right Honourable Speaker. Out of time, I'll skip the introduction, background, methodology, and right away go to the findings, observations, and recommendations. Number 1, implementation of IFRS 9 financial instruments, financial asset receivable. The financial statements under Note 28 of the financial statements include a financial asset in form of trade receivables. Management estimated the fair value of the net financial asset receivable to be 159.87 billion as at 30th June 2022. However, the auditor was not provided with a periodic assessment and documentation of the risk and parameters leading to the expected trade loss of 8.47 billion as required under IFRS 9. And to the observation, the committee observes that while National Water had prepared the relevant documentation, there was no formal document that had been approved by the management structures of the corporation. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that the FS9 accounting standard is incorporated in the financial manual and be approved by the board within 6 months of adoption from the date of adoption of this report and be regularly updated. Item 2, implementation of new IFRS 16 leasing and subsequent amendment on rent concessions of 2020. It was noted that National Water and Sewerage Corporation leased vehicles, offices, and land under operating lease contracts whose terms were more than 12 months. In the above regard, under Note 26 of the financial statements, National Water recognized an operating lease. Right to use non-current asset of 5 points produced in 2019, and there is need for training of the staff to appreciate it. And as a committee, we recommend that the accounting officer undertakes training of staff as regards the new accounting standards. 2, to have the standard approved by the board and incorporated into the finance manual. And 3, conduct annually comprehensive and authorized IFRS 16 models to enable determination of specific amounts for recognition in the financial statements and disclosure thereof. Let me move to land matters. Included in the financial statements are 180.4 billion freehold land and 4 billion leasehold land, respectively. The following matters were noted with regard to land. 1. Land with expired leases. 2. Some land titles were yet to be transferred into the name of National Water and Sewerage Corporation. 3. Some land hosting national water infrastructure is still owned by other government sister agencies without vesting memorandums of understanding. 4. Land and water infrastructure transferred to national water with ownership contestations and some encroached upon. I'll run to the observations. The committee observes that the accounting officer ought to expedite the process of securing interests of the corporation relating to its land. 2. Absence of a land management committee increases risks and instances of insider dealing. And so we recommend that the accounting officer expedites the efforts to title all National Water and Sewerage Corporation land. Number 2, that's the accounting officer, should establish a land management committee composed of senior management within 3 months from the date of adoption of this report. Issue number 4, a very critical one, according to the committee, financial data incident. During the year under audit on the 18th day of August 2022, the company became aware of an incident affecting the ICT servers used to maintain financial records and other critical systems. The incident resulted into loss of all financial data to the date of the incident. There was no up-to-date backup system. The internal investigation report to establish the cause of the incident has not yet been issued. Management contracted an accounting systems consultant to work with the organization's IT team to reconstruct the data based on available information before the data loss and backup up to 30th of April 2022. The accounting officer told the committee that on August 19th, there was a ransomware attack on the servers of National Water, which encrypted nearly all the systems, preventing them from working. He said the data had been backed up, but this did not include the last 2 months of the financial year. The data was reconstructed because the systems were internally created, but what was recovered was not exactly what was there before, and there was need for reconciliation. Some IT systems were completely destroyed, and the automatic relay system of billing was temporarily removed. The accounting officer told the committee that the system was eventually restored, and a forensic report was being worked on. There was a high suspicion that the matter was internally generated and appropriate human resource action was undertaken, according to the accounting officer. The inflows in the ICT systems were also corrected. He said the forensic report on the matter was strictly confidential. 17 servers in total were targeted, and 2 staff of National Water and Sewerage Corporation indicated that they would decrypt the servers at a fee of $17,000 per server, making the total $289,000. That's slightly over $1 billion Uganda shillings. At this point, the rest of the data was backed up on cloud. The contracts of 2 staff members, these 2, who said they could decrypt the system because they were eventually suspected to being the ones to cause this, were terminated, their contracts. 1 other staff who was meant to provide security to the system was reprimanded for negligence and transferred to another department. The committee observes 1, the information technology equipment for National Water was hacked into, leading to the interruption of the corporation's work and loss of data, which was needed at the time of the audit. 2, there was no evidence that the termination of the staff thought to have been culpable followed due process, which may expose the corporation to lawsuits and potentially lead to loss of revenue. The committee recommends as such: 1, the accounting officer should provide the recovered data to the Auditor General for audit in the next audit year, because this data was not availed to the Auditor General. Why? Because it had disappeared. And so we said it ought to be availed, now that they say they recovered it, to the Auditor General, so that we are sure nothing is being hidden. Number 2, the accounting officer should put in place measures to deter the reoccurrence of similar acts in future, including online real-time off-site backups. 3, the accounting officer should put in place measures to ensure due process for all staff before their services are terminated to avoid legal liability. Other matters. trade and other receivables to the tune of 212 billion. The committee noted that trade and other receivables in the financial statements stood at 212 billion as at 30th June 2022. The accounting officer submitted that these had increased generally and noted that there were various categories of debtors. Water for commercial purposes had an outstanding amount of 29 billion, domestic purposes 63 billion, embassies 219 million, industrial purposes 1.6 billion, and MDAs, those are ministries, departments and agencies, 70.6 billion. He submitted that the bills for MDAs were particularly worrying because while for the other debtors, the money owed was for an average of 3 months, but the average time for MDAs was 13.5 months. That's over a year. We provide a table there showing how much each of these different entities owe National Water. I'll just highlight some of the outstanding ones. Other hospitals, aside from Mulago, that's 6.9 billion shillings, which they owe in water bills. Ministry of Defense, 27.4 billion. Mulago Hospital, 1.96 billion. Uganda Prisons, 11.8 billion. Uganda Police Service, which is the highest, second to Ministry of Defense, 23.3 billion. The accounting officer submitted that the average billing was about 5 billion per month for MDAs. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to skip this and go to the observations. The committee observes that the failure by MDAs to pay their water bills affects the corporation's operations and makes it difficult for the corporation to clear its obligations. Additionally, paying VAT on accrual basis severely affects the cash flow of the corporation, especially where MDAs with huge bills do not pay on time. The committee recommends that the accounting officers for all the MDAs with arrears in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance should settle all outstanding arrears within 6 months from the date of the adoption of this report. 2, the Ministry of Finance should ring-fence funds to pay the utilities of all MDAs to avoid accumulation of arrears. The other matter, Right Honourable Speaker and members, is creditors. The committee noted that National Water owes its creditors 184 billion shillings. The accounting officer submitted that 18 billion, 10% of the debts were within a credit period of 60 days, while those amounting to 166 billion were over 60 days. The credit period of National Water is 60 days. The committee was further informed that debts amounting to 63 billion relate to SCAP 100 project, which aims to extend water to the entire country. The costs of the project are shared between National Water, 60%, and Government of Uganda, 40%. Whereas the Government of Uganda budget on the project in financial year 2022-23 was 55 billion, as of December 2022, only 10 billion had been released, leaving a deficit of 45 billion. He also explained, the accounting officer, that the aftermath of COVID-19, where water was not being paid for by some sections of the population, was a challenge, and that as a result, some consumers were not paying as well as they should. The committee observes that the failure by government to honor its core funding obligations impairs the ability of the corporation to settle its obligations as well as cater for its operations. We recommend that the Ministry of Finance allocates the balance of unreleased funds for all core funded projects to the corporation to enable it clear its obligations. The other matter is complaints of inflated water bills. The committee got complaints from members of the general public about inflated costs. The complaints were that National Water and Sewerage Corporation estimates their bills and charges exorbitantly without proper justification, saying that in some months the water bills are extremely high, yet there has been no charge in the amounts of water they consume. The accounting officer informed the committee that they too have got similar complaints from the public over time, but said they had not detected any wrongdoing on their part, and that some of the high bills could be as a result of pipe leakages. He, however, indicated that the corporation was embarking on internal investigations to be sure there are no mistakes or wrongdoing by their staff in this respect. We observe that complaints of inflated water bills affect the willingness of the public to pay, and they also taint the image of the corporation. And the committee recommends that National Water and Sewerage Corporation expedites the process of investigating the public complaints and sorts them out with immediacy, and provide a report on the same to Parliament within 6 months from the adoption of this report. The other item is staff welfare. And this is the last item, Right Honourable Speaker. The committee received complaints from staff of National Water who were disgruntled about their pay. They say the pay they get is not commensurate to the work they do. The accounting officer informed the committee that the corporation had received similar complaints from their staff and that management was in the process of revising the salary scale of all their staff members in consultation with the board. The committee observes that improvement of staff welfare is important for the output of the corporation. 2, there is an ongoing process, according to the accounting officer, by management to address these concerns. And the committee recommends that management expedites the process of revising the salary scale and submit a report to Parliament on the same within 6 months after the adoption of this report. Conclusion: National Water and Sewerage Corporation plays a vital role in the provision of water and sewerage services to Ugandans. The services offered should be satisfactory to Ugandans and at a fair price. The committee is, however, concerned about the extremely high amounts of money owed to the corporation by MDAs. If this trend continues, the work of the corporation will be severely hampered. Right Honourable Speaker and members, I beg to move.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is a very clear and direct report, and it's very concise. We have a very big report which I want us also to handle today. It's a very big report on KCCA. So it's a very huge one. So I think we should just let's have a short debate on this. We conclude. I'll start with Honorable Nakut. I go to Honorable Christine. I go to Honorable Nabukera. I go to Honorable Timozigo, Tochi, and Milton.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank you, and I wish to thank the
2 minutes
committee.
each. Yeah.
I thank the committee for a great job. I only have 2 issues. Now that I have 2 minutes, let me rush through the 2 issues. One, the committee observed that there were changes in their international financial reporting standards, and the committee has pushed the burden of training on national water. That I disagree, because the duty of acquainting yourself with new standards is not on national water, on the institute. It is on the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda and the individual accountant. Now, what I get from that point seems to be that national water doesn't have a qualified accountant. If they do, then the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda should make sure that that accountant updates himself through continuous professional development, which we go through as accountants in the country. So that burden on national water should be lifted. Secondly, the question of ministries owing money and agencies owing money to national water. There was a time that national water cut off water supply to Kirudu Hospital. My proposal on that one is that for services like that one, healthcare, security, I think this parliament should make a decision on providing water so that the services are not interrupted because a bill has not been paid.
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, we appropriate that money. We appropriate. But because these service institutions know they are very sensitive, they don't prioritize. When money is released, they know if you cut off money for a hospital, it is going to be a war. And even Parliament will come and say, connect immediately. But if they were making it a priority, I think the recommendation I've seen is that we ring-fence that money. Maybe the minister starts even paying it from source directed to national water so that it can be used for development purposes. They misuse it well knowing we shall come in and intervene. That has to stop. Okay? Honorable Christie.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. On page 6, Right Honourable Speaker, on the areas, you'll realize that it is the Minister of Finance that has less to clear. That is 0.55 million. But the rest are very huge amounts of money. The reason I support what you have said,
Right Honourable Speaker, you know the President on many occasions has made statements indicating that water should be easily accessible. In my district in Kumi, we were given a project for phase 1, and phase 2 was supposed to be undertaken. Right Honourable, as I speak now, many people have closed the taps. They are no longer using the money because they complain of the high charges. So even as the report is saying, because of leakages and the rest, we need to do a lot to actually sensitize our people and give them more information why that is happening. And so the challenges should be addressed to encourage people to pay so that they consume the water. And then on the absence of the land management committee, first, Mr. Speaker, I support that all this land should be titled, because you are aware of what is happening in the country where people are grabbing government land. What could have been the cause, Chair? Because for every institution, for the board to be in place, there is a specific period of time when it is about to expire, a new one is supposed to be put in place. What happened with national water? That this gap continued. Possibly it could be the reason why these areas remained in big numbers. Let us address this. Water is very critical. We should encourage Ugandans to consume the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable colleagues. I had picked you. Yes, I had picked Honorable Anifa. I had picked Honorable Timozigu and Tochi.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
We have other accountability reports, colleagues. We have another report.
I want to thank the committee for the tremendous work they've done. Mine is about the two staff that were the two staff that were sent away from looking into the appointment letters, if there were also employment contracts between the staff and National Water and Sewerage Corporation, because that leads to lawsuits and costs that would damage or that would incur, such that National Water pays as a result of court cases. Secondly, I want to also, because before the land management committee is in place, there has to be a legal department. Because when the leases expire, the legal department, because I know it's there, it's mandated to renew the leases. Secondly, the land owned by the sister companies, was there a memorandum? Did the committee interest itself to understand whether there's a memorandum between National Water and the sister companies? Because that is very risky. We do not know the status of National Water between the sister entities and National Water itself. So we urge National Water to probably use its legal department before the Land Management Committee to manage the situation. Thank you.
Honorable Timozigu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also join colleagues to thank the committee for this report concerning the issues in National Water and Sewerage Corporation. Mr. Speaker, the issue of having bills which cannot be trusted by customers was the same problem with Umeme until they made until they introduced the system of Yaka, which is digital. And because this corporation is not competing with any other, we might not encourage them to be proactive. So I propose that the minister in charge should look at bringing the digital component of bidding in the same organization, so that we can know if your bill is normal, there is no water, so that you can pay. That will solve the problem, and we shall stop mistrusting the corporation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I thank the committee. Right Honourable Speaker, I think this report should put our sectoral committees on notice that come the period when MDAs and ministries come at the time of a ministerial policy statement where they report the half-year financial statement, it should be at that point that we have to scrutinize and put them to task, so that we will know if they are not paying as a result of money not being released to them, or if it is released to them and they put it to different use, then we put them to task there. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, National Water also, they have got two ways of billing. One, they can, if you are not careful, they can easily connect you and charge you not at residential use. Many people at construction time, they are charged under industrial use, and even when you complete, they maintain that. So if you are not careful, they continue charging you, and that is when you even find that the bill keeps on going higher. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Honorable, it's you to be vigilant, because at construction, indeed, the requirement is you're charged commercial. When you finish construction, it's you to go to National Water, and you say, I finished, but for if you sleep in your house, they can think you're continuing with construction, and they're even getting a higher charge. So it's in their favor. So it's very important indeed for members to be vigilant. Honorable Muuma.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I have to thank the committee for the report, but also say that National Water is one of the successful corporations so far that we still pride in as a country. We need to thank them. That said, Mr. Speaker, the underpayment of junior staff is true. This could be one of the causes of the inflation and the underpayment resulting, no, I want to say, underpayment of the junior staff could be the leading cause to sabotage, malicing, and inflating or overcosting other consumers. Because when they don't get paid, these staff, at times they end up shifting the burden to the consumers. Mr. Speaker, at one time in Mkono here, I saw a junior person asking for a bribe for someone to get connected, because they were saying, after we are not paid, it's only our office people who are well paid. To us, we end on these petty payments we pick from you people. So they were shifting the burden to the consumers. So I want to agree with the findings of the report that we need to ask and appeal to the management of National Water and the Sewage Corporation to look at the payments across the board instead of underpaying the junior staff.
Thank you. Honorable Chibaju.
Thank you. Right on.
Kindly switch on.
The committee.
Kindly, I don't know, maybe you can get another microphone?
It's working, Right Honorable. For a good report, which they have presented this evening. I so to mention that there is a lot of wastage out there. Recently, I went to my home and I found a pipe of water running freely, and I took advantage and called National Water and Sewerage Corporation. But they took long, and I didn't mind because it was watering my gardens freely. So I want to also appeal to them to do a better job in future. But I also want to thank National Water Corporation management, because most areas now are accessing safe drinking water. And they have a company called, which they subcontracted, and it has done a very good job in the villages. And they are reaching many, many areas. So as we point out the shortcomings in National Water Corporation, we also want to thank them very much, especially the management, for a job well done. Thank you, Right Honorable.
Now, Honorable colleagues, allow me to give you information. In 2017, when we were processing the budget, National Water made a proposal on a program called SCAP. and to connect 25,000 small villages, because National Water had been an organization which was being appreciated for being profit-making. So the question was, people don't have water and you're declaring profit. And the moment you declare profit, it goes to the consolidated fund. And you know the principle. The moment money goes to the consolidated fund, it loses color. It can no longer go for water, it can no longer go for anything. So, National Water made a proposal that give us, we need 30 billion, then the money we declare as profit from our own operations, we collect 55 billion, then we connect small villages. And that's the time we also said, well, you can hike the rate for town consumers to subsidize the rate for villages. And we went into a serious debate. But government provided zero money after approving it. So when it reached in Parliament, I remember we made a decision, and it came from the Committee on Natural Resources and supported by Budget Committee and later on by the House, that we cut money from money provided for thermal generators in Tororo, and we provide money to National Water. So the program started. Now, why I broke with the budget? But money for deemed energy, which we cut, managed to kickstart a program that has connected many villages. So as Parliament, we can behave responsibly. You can behave in a way that is responsible to the citizens, and you save them. Unfortunately, this financial year, it skipped our eye. That money was again removed. Meaning, we are not going to continue with this CAP program. But that's a program where you could find the National Water even deep in a village. That's how it was coming to deep in a village. So I hope we shall monitor it very well. We see how best we can rescue that program again. Honorable colleagues, we have another very big report which we are going to accounts. Commissions, statutory authorities, and state enterprises, PAC, COSASE, on the report of Auditor General on the financial statements of National Water and Sewerage Corporation for financial year ended 30th June 2022, and other matters be adopted. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. Those in favor have it. The ayes have it. The amendments were never moved to be captured. This is an issue which a sectoral committee should be able to handle after interacting with government. Yeah, Honorable Minister, you're required to provide a treasury memoranda within 6 months as provided for under the PFMA. Next item.
Item 8, motion for statutory authorities and state enterprises on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Kampala State Council Authority for the financial year ended 30th June 2022.
Chair.
Right Honorable Speaker and members, I beg to lay on table and present the report of the Committee on Public Accounts, Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, PAC COSASE, on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Kampala City Council Authority for financial year ended 30th June 2022, and other matters. I beg to lay the report and the attendant minutes thereof. Honorable Speaker, again, I will skip a couple of things, but for methodology, I'll read a bit there for emphasis. In consideration of the report, the committee held meetings with 1, the management and staff of Kampala Capital City Authority, 2, the Minister of 4, the Acting Secretary, Uganda Land Commission, and 5, Ruth Chijambu, former Acting Town Clerk of Kampala City Council, as it then was. I'll move to findings, observations, and recommendations. Item 1 there is about revenue performance, and there's a few sub-items. 1, underutilization of warrants. Out of the total warrants of 313.6 billion received during the financial year, 303 billion was spent by the entity, resulting in an unspent balance of 13.56 billion, representing an absorption level of 95.7%. 5%. The unspent funds were swept back to the consolidated fund as is required by the Public Finance Management Act. Some of the funds that were not absorbed were meant for the following activities, which were subsequently partially or not implemented at all. And we show a table. Some of this money, 1.7 billion, was meant for payment of general staff salaries for health workers. 3.1 billion was payment of salaries for secondary school teachers. The committee observes that failure to absorb funds deprives beneficiaries of the intended services. 2, there was no documentation to support the submission by the accounting officer that a request for the said staff was made to the relevant authorities at the time of this audit. Number 3, there was reluctance on the part of the management of KCCA to address this matter. While the recruitment of the relevant workers ought to have taken place before June of 2022, the correspondences seeking for a supplementary wage provision was authored much later, in November of 2022, several months after the end of the financial year. The committee recommends, number 1, the accounting officer should always make timely follow-ups on the matters to ensure proper utilization of funds budgeted for. 2, KCCA management should liaise with the Ministries of Education and Sports and that of Health to expedite the recruitment of teachers and health workers in order to enhance the much-needed services in the aforementioned areas. The other item under that is implementation of outputs and activities. The Auditor General could not assess the implementation of all the 46 outputs with 316 billion with 137 activities, since they were not fully quantified. The Auditor General was further not provided with the individual directorates' work plans to confirm the quantification of outputs. I'll run to the observations. The committee observes that failure to quantify outputs and activities implies management weaknesses in quantifying performance and hence affects service delivery by the entity. And we recommend that the accounting officer should ensure detailed work plans for all directorates are in place at the start of every financial year to enable quantification and measurement of all outputs and to enable performance measurements. The other item is delivery of services from implemented activities. There's a table, Right Honourable Speaker and members, that we share that shows a couple of projects that were incomplete. Some were classroom blocks, hospitals, and so on. I'll not run through that, but it shows a detailed breakdown. I'll run to the general observation of all of this. The committee observes that the failure to complete the various projects satisfactorily meant that the facilities could not be utilized, but also led to loss of time and money. And the committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure timely and satisfactory completion of all the projects within a period of 3 months after the adoption of this report. The other item is procurement of 39 office chairs, 14 tables, and 5 desks, and procurement of 7 ambulances and 5 motorcycles for provision of emergency medical services contract that was awarded. The accounting officer informed the committee that the total expenditure on furniture in financial year 2021-2022 was 135 million and not 2.14 billion as reported, and that 50 as opposed to 39 chairs were purchased at a cost of 32.5 million. These were delivered on August 19th, 2022. Regarding ambulances and motorcycles, the accounting officer submitted that the ambulances cost 1.61 billion and the motorcycles cost 52.5 million, bringing the total to 1.66 billion and not 3.7 billion. She further submitted that both items were part of the COVID-19 responses. The ambulances were delivered. The Auditor General informed the committee that through a letter that his office asked KCCA to provide a breakdown of the figures spent on these items, but the information was not provided. The Auditor General therefore captured the block figures. The committee observes that there was a discrepancy between the figures of the Auditor General and those of KCCA, and we recommend that the Auditor General should revisit this particular matter in the subsequent audit. The other item, Right Honourable Speaker and members, is management of public land, and one is about encumbrance on public land. It was noted that out of 242 pieces of land measuring approximately 184.8 hectares held, 24 pieces measuring 36.79 hectares, valued at 34.6 billion, had been encroached upon by the local population. The accounting officer submitted that most encroached upon land was in Nakalama, Kasenge, which was purchased for constructing a landfill in 1997, but where KCCA did not take immediate possession, and the 64.4 acres, approximately 26 hectares, was inhabited by squatters. KCCA filed a case against the squatters, and there is a reference there, KCCA versus Yosia Masengere and others. I'll move to the observations. The committee observes that management of KCCA has over the years neglected to safeguard and take possession of some of its land, which has resulted in 2 squatters that have lived on the land for many years. 2, no evidence was submitted to indicate the efforts undertaken by management to stop encroachers on KCCA land in the various places. 3, encroachment hinders management's ability to utilize the land and poses a risk of loss of land. The committee recommends that KCCA management should secure possession of its land and keep track of the court proceedings to resolve all forms of third-party claims in order to ensure uninterrupted utilization of land for service delivery. The other issue is titling and transfer. It was noted that out of 184 pieces of land measuring 184.8 hectares held, 48 pieces of the land, that's 37.7 hectares, did not have land titles. The committee observes, I'll run to the observations, that management did not submit evidence of engagement with the stakeholders in the matter, that is Buganda Land Board and Uganda Land Commission, which casts doubt on their commitment to obtain the various certificates of title. 2, lack of certificates of title exposes KCCA land to encroachment, disputes, and may result in the loss of land. The committee recommends 1, the accounting officer should actively engage the relevant stakeholders to obtain certificates of title for all untitled land and update Parliament on the progress of the same 6 months from the date of adoption of this report. 2, the Auditor General should audit all of KCCA land in the next subsequent audit. 3, management of domestic arrears. And we start with outstanding long-term payables of 42.5 billion. It was noted that the authority had a long-term liability of 42.5 billion on its balance sheet that arose from a development credit agreement entered into on 12th of August 1991 between IDA and KCC on behalf of government for the improvement of waste management in the city, production of up-to-date Kampala maps, and strengthening of the financial and personnel management systems and services. The loans have never been serviced, and the outstanding balance of 42.5 billion has remained on the KCCA books as an obligation pending clearance, even though the authority does not have the capacity to settle this obligation, and the chance of repaying this liability is remote. The accounting officer stated that the Accountant General had been engaged for the last 5 years with no conclusive response. The committee observes 1, several letters have been written by the Executive Director of KCCA to the Ministry of Finance since 2013 about the matter. 2, on 30th January 2023, the Minister of Finance wrote to the Attorney General seeking for guidance regarding writing off a number of loans that were unrecoverable, including that of KCCA that were kept on its books of accounts and queried several times by the Auditor General. The committee recommends that the Attorney General should provide guidance on this loan and how it should be dealt with within 3 months. The guidance should come within 3 months from the date of adoption of this report. Outstanding domestic arrears of 24.9 billion. Section 21(2) of the Public Finance Management Act states that a vote shall not take any credit from any local company or body unless it has no unpaid domestic arrears from debts in the previous financial year, and it has the capacity to pay the expenditure from the approved estimates as appropriated by Parliament for the financial year. Further, paragraph 10.9.17 of the Treasury Instructions of 2017 states that an accounting officer will ensure that no payments due in any financial year remain unpaid at the end of that year. Contrary to these legal provisions, it was noted that the authority had outstanding commitments to the tune of 24.9 billion at the year end. The accounting officer explained that management was committed to adherence and to the commitment of the control system. However, most of the large payments are for road construction projects, which are multi-year in nature, and the payment timelines are hard to predetermine. in subsequent year budgets were taken care of in the multi-year planning. However, the risk of litigation continues to loom over the authority. The committee observes that accrued domestic arrears adversely affect budget performance in the subsequent year, as outputs anticipated in the appropriated budget may not be attained due to settlement of arrears. This may also result in litigation for non-payment of services already consumed. The committee recommends that management should ensure that all major works, especially multi-year projects, are allocated sufficient funds to avoid arrears which attract interest on delayed payments. Non-remittance of statutory deductions. It was noted that by the amounting to 4.1 billion, which had not been remitted to the respective institutions as shown in the table below, contrary to paragraph 10.23.1 of the Treasury Instructions of 2017. And the table there shows payee 2.5 billion, that's to URA, withholding tax 17.2 million to URA, and then NSSF contributions 1.49 billion, the total there being 4.1 billion. The accounting officer explained that management was constrained with the budget to process these outstanding statutory payments, but was engaging government to allocate additional funding. She said the bulk of the outstanding payee and NSSF were related to the remittances of June 2022, which had since been made, according to her. She further explained that the delays to remit NSSF contributions for casual workers was caused by a delayed registration, and that the remittances of all those that had successfully registered were made, while registration was continuing and remittances were continuously made. The committee observes that 1. Failure by KCCA to remit statutory deductions in time was a breach of the law and an infringement on the rights of workers, and affects the overall government budget and exposes the authority to fines and penalties. 2. The failure to remit NSSF contributions leads to financial loss to employees, given that they cannot earn interest on unremitted contributions. 3. The shortage in funding as an explanation for the delayed statutory deductions was not tenable, because statutory deductions are paid on salaries. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should immediately pay all outstanding NSSF contributions plus accrued interest to the employees. 2. Always prioritize the payment of statutory deductions and remittances to avoid penalties and jeopardizing the livelihood of employees. Number 4. Delayed commencement of the Kampala rehabilitation project. According to the project appraisal report of 2019, the project implementation period was to start in June 2020 and be completed over a 5-year period, including 1 year of the defects notification period. The ED of KCCA was responsible for nominating a project coordinator acceptable to the bank for the day-to-day management of the project, and constituting a project implementation team comprising a civil engineer, procurement expert, an accountant, environmentalist, and a socio-economist. It was noted that the project had delays in commencement due to some factors such as delay in obtaining necessary project approvals and lengthy procurement processes that involved obtaining the bank no objection and contracts committee approval before advertisement was done. I'll run to the observations. The committee observes that delays in commencing projects leads to low absorption of funds and non-implementation of planned activities, which affect the project's overall performance. We recommend that the accounting officer should fast-track all key project activities to avoid further delays in project implementation. Number 2, ensure that the necessary loan documentation is submitted to the loan appraisal unit in time, to the Ministry of Finance, and subsequently to the respective approval authorities to avoid delays. The other item is nugatory expenditure, interest on delayed payments, amounting to 94.8 million. It was noted that the authority delayed settling the interim payment certificate number 20 for works executed by MS Enago project on the reconstruction and or upgrading of various roads in Kampala, contrary to public procurement and disposal of public assets, PPDA regulations. We observe that nugatory expenditure denies the authority the resources to implement its other planned activities. And so we recommend that the authority, KCCA, and its accounting officer should ensure the expeditious review of payment claims and settlement of approved certificates and invoices in time to avoid nugatory expenditure. 6. Implementation of Youth Livelihood Program. It was noted that since the program's inception, 4.6 billion
was disbursed to various youth groups in the 5 divisions of Kampala. However, only 1 billion has been recovered, representing a recovery rate of 22%. It was further noted that some groups have never made any repayment to the tune of 1.2 billion. I'll quickly run to the observations. The committee observes that failure to recover funds from the beneficiary groups may lead to the non-achievement of the intended objectives of the revolving fund. 2, the fact that some groups had not made any payment was an indication of not doing due diligence on the groups before the loans were disbursed. The committee recommends that 1, the accounting officer should devise more effective mechanisms of recovering funds from the youth groups. 2, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development should re-examine the implementation of the Youth Livelihood Program with a view to improving its performance in order for the program to benefit the target groups. 7, delay to operationalize the 2019 Outdoor Advertising Ordinance. It was noted that on the 23rd of April 2020, court ruled that the authority was irregularly collecting fees from outdoor advertising. In the ruling, the authority was barred from budgeting and collecting any outdoor fees until proper regulations on outdoor advertising rates had been put in place. However, it was noted that the authority had not yet developed regulations on outdoor advertising rates. Therefore, no collections were made during the year. Although the authority in the financial year 2019-2020 collected 3.5 billion before the court ruling that halted collecting of these fees. The accounting officer explained that a draft outdoor advertising ordinance was prepared with the input of the relevant KCCA technical staff and was presented to the City Executive Committee, which made their input, after which the draft ordinance was submitted to the Authority Council. Observations. The National Outdoor Advertising Contractors Association Limited brought an action against KCCA, and that's the reference therein, seeking for an order certiorari quashing the decision of KCCA approving the outdoor advertising rates, contending that the rates were illegal, irrational, and unlawful, and the declaration was that the 13.7 billion, which were rates and fees and other charges unlawfully levied, charged, collected, and received as outdoor advertising rates by the respondent from the applicant's members since 2011, was illegal and unlawful. The applicant sought for the same amount as damages. On 23rd of April 2020, the High Court held that the applicant was entitled to a refund of all the money and other charges unlawfully levied and received as outdoor advertising rates by the respondent from the applicant's members since 2011. On 2nd of December 2020, in miscellaneous cause number 407 of 2019, an amount of 8.2 billion was formally proved in court as the decreto sum and 2.6 billion as taxed costs and interest, making a total of 10.8 billion. Despite the fact that KCCA is not collecting any advertising fees, several billboards continue to be erected in the city unabated. As a result of the absence of an enabling law that allows for the levying and collection of advertising fees, KCCA has lost and continues to lose income. The committee recommends that the council should fast-track the approval process of the draft advertising ordinance to enable the authority to collect revenue from outdoor advertising, and the accounting officer should report to Parliament on the same within 3 months from the date of adoption of this report. 8. Human resource management, and we start with vacant positions in the authority. A review of the authority's organizational structure indicates that out of the approved 1,454 posts, only 825 were filled. I'll run to the observations, Right Honourable Speaker. The committee observes that staffing levels of 56.7% are low, and this makes it difficult for the entity to properly execute its mandate. 2. The staffing gaps are key positions which negatively affects the level of public service delivery. 3. Whereas many of the higher positions have been filled, several staffing gaps for lower positions remain, notably in the areas of health and education. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should provide funds for the recruitment of all the requisite staff for KCCA. Number 2, the accounting officer should ensure that all appointed officers assume duty as soon as possible. Number 9, management of schools, operation of unlicensed and unregistered schools. A review of the status of licensing and registration of schools in Kampala indicated that only 865 out of 1,927 schools were registered with KCCA, representing 45%, while 928 schools were not registered and licensed, representing 48%. The balances of 134 schools were provisionally licensed. The provisional licenses for 102 out of 134 schools had expired, exceeding the 2 years in operation, and had not been renewed, implying that the schools were operating illegally. It was noted that except for the schools which were issued closure notices as far back as 2018, but are still operating, other schools had never been issued closure notices by KCCA. I'll run to the observations, Right Honourable Speaker. The committee observes that out of 1,978 schools in the city, only 79 are operated by KCCA, an indication of the inadequacy of the authority to provide education services. The numerous primary schools indicate an attempt to fill a void in the education sector in the city. 2, the number of unlicensed schools indicates inadequate supervisory capacity on the side of KCCA and the Ministry of Education and Sports. 3, understaffing and an inadequate budget for KCCA make it difficult for the authority to effectively supervise schools. We recommend that the accounting officer should review the operations of the Education Directorate to further improve its capacity to manage licensing of schools adequately and achieve its intended goals and objectives. 2, the Ministry of Education and Sports should put in place measures to improve licensing of all schools and collaborate with the management of KCCA regarding supervision. Review of KCCA mandate. There was absence of a City Public Accounts Committee. I'll run to the observation. The committee observes that the absence of the City Public Accounts Committee means that the recommendations of the Internal Audit Department, the reports of the Auditor General, and other investigating agencies may not be reviewed and implemented. Further, it becomes difficult to confirm whether the city's corporate governance structures are adequate. The committee recommends that KCCA should always ensure that the accountability committees are in place to attend to reports of the Internal Audit and the Auditor General. 10.2, failure to prepare implementation report for Kampala Physical Development Plan. I run to the observation because it's clear-cut. The committee observes that in the absence of the implementation report, it becomes difficult to confirm the extent of implementation of the planned activities and the achievement of the intended goals and objectives. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should expedite the process of preparing a report on the implementation of KPDP to enable the evaluation of performance and inform the next strategic direction in the area. This should be done within 6 months from the date of adoption of this report. Management of information technology investments in government, and then there's also manual preparation of financial statements. The entity does not use an automated system to prepare financial statements, which would improve accountability and reporting. The committee observation that the entity was preparing financial statements manually using MS Excel, which is prone to errors due to human intervention and manipulation. The committee recommends that management should acquire an automated accounting system for the preparation of financial statements within a period of 6 months from the date of adoption of this report. Management of public land, and we start with utilization of land for service delivery. It was noted that out of the 242 pieces of land measuring 184.8 hectares held, 3 pieces, that's 1.7 hectares, valued at 9 billion, were not utilized by the entity at the time of the audit. I run to the observation. The committee observes that unutilized land is susceptible to encroachment and grabbing, and we recommend that KCCA expedites the process of leasing out all its vacant land to raise revenue. The other item, irregularities in management of leased lands. Regulation 6 of the Land Regulations of 2004 requires a lease offer made by a board or the commission to communicate the offer stating the terms and conditions of the offer conditioned upon payment of fees and other charges in full or by installment. A review of the lease file and MOUs held by the authority revealed the following. 1. 2 leases of land measuring 0.6 hectares had expired at the time of carrying out this audit. 2. 1 piece of land measuring 0.45 hectares leased out had not been developed as per the conditions of the lease agreement. Out of the lease rentals of 1.5 billion expected in the period under review, the entity only received 620 million, which is 41%, hence an under collection. No leases of land were renewed without payment of ground rent arrears or development of land as per the lease agreement. The accounting officer explained that all leased properties are subjected to compliance through physical planning and no extension is approved without a compliance report. One of the lessees had complained of encroachment which was being addressed. The authority was also taking measures to increase collection from lease rentals. We observed that irregularities in lease management processes of land wholly controlled and owned by KCCA negatively impact on revenue collection. And the committee recommends that the accounting officer should strengthen internal controls surrounding lease management and ensure that proper lease agreements with clear terms are signed with prospective lessees. Parish development model. 1, budget performance, and there's a table there showing challenges. The committee observes, I'll move to the observation. The committee noted that in the absence of a detailed work plan, it becomes difficult to confirm whether the detailed activities were properly costed and spent for the intended purposes. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should ensure that detailed work plans are prepared within 1 month to guide the implementation of activities under parish development model. 2, absorption of PDM funds. It was noted that out of the total receipts of 1.5 billion, 373 million was spent, representing an absorption level of 24.3%, leaving 1.16 unspent by the year end. And there is a table there showing. The committee observes that failure to absorb the funds was caused by the absence of guidelines for the formation of SACCOs. 2, under absorption of funds results in delayed or non-implementation of budgeted activities and delayed achievement of the program goal of financial inclusion. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Local Government should ensure that all guidelines necessary for preliminary activities, such as the formation of SACCOs, are provided before the disbursement of funds. The other is failure to transfer funds to PDM SACCOs. That one is self-explanatory. The committee observes that the SACCOs were not in place because there were no guidelines regarding how they would be formed in financial years. Then contradictory implementation of guidance and directives from different departments. The committee observes that contradictory guidances to implementers of the PDM causes disharmony and impairs coordination in the implementation of PDM activities. And we recommend that the management should liaise with the PDM Secretariat and review the various guidelines issued and harmonize guidance given to the implementers of PDM activities. Quota awards and compensation. In 2016, government decentralized the payment and retirement of quota awards from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. Under that still, there's lack of adequate budget for liabilities from quota awards and compensations. It was observed, going down, that KCCA budgeted for 6.8 billion for the settlement of these liabilities relating to quota awards and compensations, although the quota awards and compensations payable by 30th of June 2021 were totaling to 23 billion. I'll run to the observation. The committee noted that failure to provide resources for the settlement of liabilities results in delayed settlement and further accumulation of interest on the outstanding debt. And we recommend that the accounting officer should continuously engage Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to request for additional funding to settle these litigation liabilities. Then there is lack of criteria for management of these quota awards, and we recommend that management expedites the process of developing formal guidelines to streamline quota awards, compensation management and settlement within 3 months from the date of adoption of this report. Then management of pension and gratuity, and then I run further down, under budgeting of pension liability to the tune of 1.9 billion, and there's a table that we show there. I'll not run through that. And we are saying KCCA should always make provision for gratuity. Then there's under absorption of pension and gratuity, 343 million. There's a table there which I'll not run through. And we are saying the accounting officer should expedite the process of pension verification and setting up beneficiaries on IFMIS to ensure that all pensioners are paid on time, because that's part of the challenge. Then timely access to pension payrolls. And we are saying that management should always start the process of data capture with the Ministry of Public Service earlier and provide clear and early guidance to pensioners, especially those from tertiary and secondary institutions. Then payment of pensioners without life certificates, that's another challenge. And we recommend that management should expedite the follow-up of all unverified pensioners and circulate reminders to enable them file their updated certificates with the authority as soon as possible. The other matters, and this is the last section, which would take about 5 minutes, I suppose. Plot 71, Kruma Road. The committee took interest in the matter relating to Plot 71, Kruma Road. The land is comprised in Freehold Register Volume 208, Folio 24. I'll leave those details. KCCA operated a clinic on the said property until the land was leased to MS Securex Amenities Uganda Limited on 21st of February 2012. The events leading to the relinquishment of the land were as follows. On 8th of April 2010, the then Mayor of Kampala City Council, Alhaji Nasser Antege Sebagala, in a letter wrote to the acting town clerk of KCC indicating that MS Securex Amenities had submitted a proposal to redevelop Plot 71 Kruma Road into a modern parking facility with a private health center and other commercial services, and that according to the application of MS Securex Amenities dated 6th of April 2010, the company was offering to create a facility that has more parking spaces in addition to other commercial services and a health facility run by KCC, in line with the council's interest of providing health services to the people. And there is an annexure attached of the letter. According to the mayor, the project was commendable and would generate more revenue to the city council. He noted acting town clerk should proceed to formalize the recommendation as long as the new redevelopment project was in line with the current planning standards. On 12th of April 2010, via the letter, the then Secretary of Uganda Land Commission, Mr. Mubala, wrote to the town clerk informing him that the commission was in receipt of an application for that property from MS Securex Amenities, which would be a beneficiary, and there's an annexure. Right, Honorable Speaker and members, allow me to run to the observations. The detail therein has the annexures as well. The committee observes as follows. Number one, Securex Amenities Limited versus Securex Amenities Uganda Limited. The letter from the Secretary of the Uganda Land Commission dated 12th of April 2010, wherein reference to the application for a lease was made, referred to Securex Amenities Limited as the applicant. However, the communication to the acting town clerk by the personal assistant of the mayor dated 12th May refers to Securex Amenities Uganda Limited, which is a different company. The response to the letter of the Secretary Uganda Land Commission, also by the acting town clerk, referred to Securex Amenities Uganda Limited. There is no record of the existence of Securex Amenities Limited at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. What was provided to the committee when a request was made were documents relating to Securex Amenities Uganda Limited. Even then, Securex Amenities Uganda Limited was incorporated on 27th May 2010, which was after the grant of the lease, meaning that this lease was granted to a non-existent entity. The shareholders were Ntaganda Ephraim 80 shares, Mutabaruka Innocent 10 shares, and Kanabi Bob 10 shares. In a letter to the Commissioner Surveys and Mapping by the then Secretary of the Uganda Land Commission dated 18th June 2010, the request for deeds was made with reference to Securex Amenities Limited and not Securex Amenities Uganda Limited, and there's an annex here attached on the report. On 24th of April 2012, Securex Amenities Limited, which was non-existent, created a sublease of 45 years to Securex Amenities Uganda Limited. There's an annex here attached. On 21st February 2012, Ntaganda Ephraim transferred all his shares as follows: 60 to Wachamba Constance, etc., etc. And on the same date, these people also transferred. There's an annexure. On 15th of March 2012, Wachamba Constance and Wanamono Shem transferred their shares to Mahmoud Barwani and Mrs. Shaida Barwani, who also became directors. Resolutions to that effect, dated 22nd March, were also registered and attached. The fact that the transactions and exchange of the property was based on mere nominal fees for shares of the company, and the speed at which all this was done is suspect. The property was subsequently purportedly mortgaged. The committee recommends that the certificate of title be cancelled and the register be rectified to reinstate Uganda Land Commission as the registered proprietor. 2. KCCA should initiate processes of ensuring that after the cancellation of the title, KCCA is registered as the user entity. 3. All the officers involved in this fraudulent transaction should be investigated and prosecuted by the Inspectorate of Government. The other item is cost of city roads in Kampala. The committee's attention was drawn to the high cost of road constructions in Kampala at an average of 10 billion per kilometer, and we have an attachment. A study, the committee did make a comparison study. A study by the Ministry of Works and Transport indicates that as at 2020, that's the Ministry of Works and Transport Consultancy Services for a unit cost study of road construction and maintenance in Uganda. It indicates that a kilometer costs about 650 million US dollars, that's about 2.4 billion for roads under 70 kilometers, and 2.1 billion for roads under 70 kilometers.